Okay, I'm gonna call the Facilities Committee meeting to order. Could I get a motion to call it to order?
I move that we call this meeting to order.
Can I get a second?
A second.
Okay, it has been second that we called the Facilities meeting to order. Now I need adoption of the agenda as printed. Has everyone got a chance to look at the agenda?
I would like to add one item to the agenda if we could.
Want to amend it?
Yeah, I'd like to amend the agenda to add CAC office space at former administration building.
4.11, so make it 4.11, CAC?
Yeah.
CAC. Okay,
Thank you.
CAC. Okay, so first I have to adopt the agenda, then I'll make the amendment. So first of all, we're gonna adopt the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
Okay, do I have a second? I second. It has been second. Now we're gonna adopt the agenda with the amendment making the community assistance building, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Community assistance building, we're gonna add it to our agenda. We're gonna amend it to make it 4.11. So do I have a motion to amend the agenda now? It's been,
I move that we add CAC to 4.11.
all right, I'll second it. Now approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look at November the 7th, 2019?
Yes, Vice President Reagan, I've had a chance to review November 7, 2019 minutes.
Do you see any corrections? Do you need?
Not at this time.
All right. Well, I will make a second to approve of the minutes for draft for November the 7th, 2019 minutes. Now that we're gonna go with the discussion items, district facility usage 4.1. Okay.
Something you put on the agenda, so I look for your questions.
I think we've already spoken about the district facility usages, simply because we've already added, we're now putting the loads of washers over there at the.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So now I
Yeah.
don't think that was on there. Remember?
Oh, okay, okay.
That's what that came back to until we didn't know,
Yeah,
remember? So
Okay.
4.1 was discussing what we was gonna do with the old administration buildings and the things of that nature.
And so you have any updates regarding?
yeah, we continue to clean the facility. We got the all the plumbing's done. Now we got the framing for the plumbing. We're drywalling it this week, or actually first of next week. Doing some painting in there. Just a couple of places we're doing some painting. Gonna lay a tile floor down where the washer and dryers are gonna be. So we're progressing right along. I think we're gonna be ready for January 6th. I mean, unless there's some hiccups, but I still think we're on track for January 6th. We're identifying some furniture to take over for the legal aid person because they're not gonna have furniture. So I'm gonna identify that tomorrow and have that moved over. So it seems like we're on track right now for January 6th.
So we're going to utilize furniture that we currently already have somewhere else?
Yeah, and the ladies that are moving over there already have furniture in their offices. We're just moving that to those pieces over. It's just for the legal aid person that doesn't that work as an addition that Link's paying for. We're gonna obviously give her some of our furniture that we have. So
Now, I know we got a message about the spores or whatever.
yeah, some
That's
of the
what-
fungal stuff they're doing now. They're just cleaning everything. They're doing deep cleaning, doing some with the carpets and with the ductwork and things like that. They're doing all that cleaning. So everything's going really well and quickly. I think they'll be done with all that ductwork and things tomorrow, and then the deep clean will start on Friday afternoon and go to Saturday into Monday. We should get the building back to us full time on Wednesday is what they're thinking. So
Next week?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So then we'll start doing our little pieces and move the furniture probably over the break, and then we'll be ready to go.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So things are going well.
Moving right along to 4.2 Pepsi contract and other possible partnerships. We were talking about the last time we was in here about how at our concession stands we only have a lot of dark pops and things of that nature. Did you guys find out?
Yeah, I made comments in the contract in case you want them. I mean,
And
it's up to
then
you.
maybe,
But I looked through it, and we can really ask for flavors anytime we want. And if we want different flavors, I asked Mr. Weiler. I said, "Have you had some requests for people to change?" And he was said, "I haven't heard of any." So I asked Donna Brown, and she hadn't heard anyone. But she goes, "We're open. I mean, Pepsi will pretty much give us whatever they have within their pool of flavors they'll provide." I think we have orange now. I think. So, they said, yeah, if it's in our Pepsi product, we'll be glad to switch things out if you request it, so. So I would put that request to Mr. Weiler and he'll
Can I
contact.
see a copy of that
Yeah.
contract? When was the last time this contract was reviewed?
It was initiated in 2016, and it's and it's right here, it goes till 2021.
And on the partnership, and that's why I wanted to talk to him too, I mean, since we are with them, what are anything as far as partnerships that we can, as far as with Pepsi, kind of like how Google with us, what do they do when it comes to those type of partnerships?
Right,
Since we
so
do have
there,
stuff.
the money that we get back from Pepsi is based on how much product we actually sell,
Right,
okay? Even though on that page, Ms. Briggs, that I showed you, it says 12,300, that's like a maximum that you can get from them. But it's all based on how much product you actually sell through your concession stands and so on and so forth. Last year, we received $933 from Pepsi, according to how much we actually sold. So we did not sell much product. So it is all based on how much product you actually sell at those games,
So.
or through the vending machines.
Are the products handed over the counter, or are we talking vending?
It's my understanding they're over the counter.
So we're only
Yeah.
selling $900?
Well, that's our commission back, is that we got $933 last year back. So we do not sell very much.
So what are we doing to promote the partnership with Pepsi and the school district at our athletic events?
They do provide signage, they have Pepsi product signage for that, and they provide that for us, and we could add to that probably any time. I think they would give us marketing material at any time we wanted. I mean, that helps them too, so. But I know like all the coolers and things like that say Pepsi on them, and stuff like that, so if we wanted signage, we could add it.
My other question is, are we advertising Pepsi on our website since we have an agreement? I'm just trying to figure out.
No, it's not a requirement of Pepsi to do that.
No, I know it's not a
Yeah,
requirement.
no, we haven't, no.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out why we're not maximizing
I can-
Pepsi partnership.
I can ask her. I can ask Marissa if that's something, that a little bit beyond me, but I'll ask her what we can do to do that.
Yeah, because if you think about typically other athletic websites, especially high school, Mr. Weekly
Sure.
is very knowledgeable of, that you see most of the companies that you have contract agreements with, you see their logos, kind of strolling through
Sure.
the websites. I think there's opportunities for us to rebrand with some of our partners.
Sure.
We revisit this contract when?
2021, July of 2021 is when it's up. It's a five-year contract. So it was approved in 16, 17, and goes till 2021.
And we've made probably roughly $4,000 in.
Yeah, it's not been very much.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a waste of paper. I think we probably at some point, someone needs to probably figure out how we can really maximize this. This will be good, especially if we're getting a new football field at some point and improving our facilities. It may be nice to have some signage somewhere.
Sure. I think there's some below the scoreboard at the football field as well, I believe. So, but I'll give this to Marissa and I'll have her call the account rep and see what they can do as far as additional advertising.
And another thing I just want to throw out as far as with the Pepsi thing, are we polling the students as far as what do they want? Because I noticed you said something about, the vending machines and also the other machines.
Well, the vending machines are only, I think, in the athletic areas because according to food policy, U.S. food and USDA policy, you can't have them out anymore. That's part of that changeover that Ms. Obama was involved in about changing over, so you can't have vending machines that have soda basically in the cafeterias and things for kids. It has to be an after-school thing, that type of thing. Can't be on during the school day type. So unfortunately, we can't publicize that to the kids and give that to the kids. So,
Okay.
well, like it used to be. It used to be you can do it
Right.
all day long, and it was a big moneymaker. But those changes happened. So,
Okay. All right, any more questions?
Nope.
All right, moving right along to 4.3, football field, disc and pole vault.
Yeah, I contacted John Sharp, I emailed John Sharp on December 4th about the PIAC grant. And I also called him. I have not heard back from him I just asked him, hey, can you give me an update? Any idea when PIAC will make a decision or what can we anticipate? I just have not heard back from him, and I've called him with the message as well. So hoping soon. He had kind of thought it would be late fall. We're kind of in that place right now, so I'm hoping there's something from it.
And so, how does it affect the timeline for having the football completed for the next season?
Well, if we put it in our plans for, I think we had talked about, regardless of whether it passes the bond or not, we were going to proceed anyway. And so we get into March or April and we haven't heard from PIAC, then we need to talk about money part of it. But with PIAC funding basically half of it, we need to figure out if we can fund the rest half on our own if we think that the bond won't go through. If the bond goes through, we supply the other half with the PIAC and we're covered financially. So I think contingency wise, we need to tell those companies we'll put out the bid in March, but the idea maybe April approval pending, and that would be a part of the bid, pending approval of the August 2020 bond project. Okay, because if it doesn't pass, then we need to think about, do we want to fund the other $250,000 or do we just want to defer until another time? So those are decisions the board will have to make.
Well, based on what I think you shared a while ago, is that the football field can't.
It's
not
probably
going to
got,
be usable.
it will be used. It won't be usable probably after next year. Yes. So we're going to have to come up. No, we would do this winter of next year. Yeah, that's always been the plan, is winter of next year, winter prices.
No, I was saying, I thought you said that it was in very, very bad shape.
It's in bad shape, but
and
it
we
can
couldn't
last
really-
another year. One more football season. We would do it winter of 2020, after the football season.
I don't know,
thought it was
for
this
some
was
reason,
a-
I'm thinking that was a very pressing issue that needed to be addressed.
I've never said it would be done prior to the 2020 season. It's always been winter prices. I've always talked about winter prices, and it would be next winter where we would do it.
Well, I understand that, that's why we're sitting here today talking about it, Mr. Whitley, because from my understanding, when the young man came to present, that we needed to address it so that it met the specifications for athletes to compete on.
Right, and he believes it can.
What's that grade? What was the grade in Gateway Field?
It's a GMAX grade. The GMAX grade is in the 160s, 140s, between 140 and 160, depending on what part of the field you're on.
Well, I hope that moving forward that this becomes a priority of the board to get that football field replaced. Because you just don't want a liability with athletes out there. And even moving on to the disc and the pole vault area, we're not even using that area.
Yeah, so the disc part I went to, there's nothing wrong with the disc area. It's up to code. All it needs to do is paint the ring. It's got the protective netting. It's all in place. It's ready to go. The pole vault is different. Pole vault, you have to have a certain amount of space around the pole vault pit. Okay, and we need a new pole vault pit. Prices now are somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000 for new pole vault pit standards and the elevated runway that you would have to put out. That elevated runway would be right in the middle of the football field. So how they do that now, high school, there's so much clearance that has to be required around the pole vault pit now that almost every high school is running it right down the middle of their football field with an elevated platform, for like a runway. So it's usually about 4 foot wide and then usually about 120, 150 feet long. So to do that, you're going to spend about $30,000, somewhere between 25 and 35, depending on what kind of apparatus you get. And that's about as cheap as you're going to find it. That meets all those codes. That's something that we're going to have to plan for capital-wise. I'd be happy to do that. I just think that we're going to have to plan for that for next season. So we'll see what we have left towards the end of the year. If we can do that, we will. I just would be reluctant to do it on the current setup that we have.
I'm just trying to figure out, and I'm not sure who can answer this question for me, but how are our high school athletes competing? The track and field would not be adequate trainings. in competition.
The only piece that I know would be the pole vault. They have legitimate long jump, shot put, disc, track's brand new. The runways are brand new, the pits are good, we replace the sand every year. So the only thing that is really in question would be pole vault.
Okay. That sounds like something that we may need
Yeah.
to expedite at some point in the near future. In addition to that, do you have an update on, what's that other? The football field, the tennis court.
Tennis courts, we currently don't practice on our tennis courts, so we generally use, I can't remember the name of the park.
Kettleman.
No,
Okay.
it's not Kevin, that's where baseball and softball is.
Canadian?
No, it's just right down,
On the one on Red Bridge and
yeah,
River.
I can't remember the name of it, but we use that for our practice and competition, so. We only had, last year we only had, I think we had 6 kids total between boys and girls. And girls are in the fall, boys are in the spring. So we had very few contestants, or participants at that time.
I mean, I would probably imagine that you, I mean, I would want to compete. I mean, I saw them out there. I mean, it's unbelievable how that's been an oversight for such a long time. I mean, some certain things, I mean, I coached for over 17 years, and some of these facilities that we're discussing today, I mean, should not be in the shape that they're in. And that's just my professional and personal opinion, that I hope that the board and the district at some point really put together a strategic plan to, with the buildings that we're going to continue to use, put, great facilities.
I agree.
I mean, we can agree, but these kids deserve better facilities. I mean, this is a multi-million-dollar business, and the money should be used for student resources as well.
The local school district just completed their tennis court renewals, 8 courts, and it was close to $1.5 million to do that. So I think that's a bond. That's why I put athletic venue upgrades in that. That would be a great opportunity to upgrade that at that time.
With the bond?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the substantial dollars that would come with it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at that. I mean,
But going back to this, it's good that hopefully that moving forward with the boards and with everyone, we start getting some type of partners, real partners, to help us. Because right now, we don't have too many, and that's the reason why I'm looking at the partnership from the Pepsi contract. When we deal with people, how can we help each other?
Sure.
And putting that in the mind frame, as President Briggs just stated, I do know that Mr. Allen over there wants to host a track meet, but you cannot host track meets if you can't have everything. You have to have everything in order to have what you want. And just echoing her, I don't know how this was always, all this stuff been overlooked all these years. So hopefully moving forward, partnerships and, facility upgrades is on the map for right now. Anything else? President?
no, but I think that whoever the district chooses for construction manager for the project, that facilities is part of the priority. For
That's
that.
all of it, yeah. That's every bit of it.
No, not just
Committee.
classrooms, but athletic facilities. I
Absolutely.
mean, it'd be nice to come to a game and have the amenities as our neighboring school district.
I totally agree.
Okay, Ms. Whitman.
All right, moving 4.4 student parking permits. This was I thought she was going to be here, Mrs. Carter. I think she was really worried about how can we help the students that are not able to get the parking permits on their cars, so that therefore they don't have to park so far away from the school and still be on the school parking lot, and somehow maybe do some type of community service to give back or doing something. But that was something of hers, so I don't know, do you have any?
How much are the parking passes?
Why?
And how many students that are driving don't have a parking pass?
I don't know that
You
answer.
can find
Because
it.
we would have no way to track that.
Right. And so, why is it not just required that students who have, when somebody provided, why the students are not provided a parking pass drive so we can identify the cars they want? Why don't we make it mandatory for students to have a parking pass to drive to school?
We do.
But
To park on the lot.
The parking lot.
Are you asking why do we make it mandatory to
No,
have
why
parking?
we should make
It is, but she was saying that
Why are students parking off-site?
also because they didn't have enough money for the parking permit. And then that's when we came up, if you recall, we came up with somehow having it on their badge where they pay some type of fee, where activities is all in it. Everything is all on a badge, and then, we can use Infinite Campus, because Infinite Campus can hold all that, where they could have scanned them and then everything pops up. But we couldn't do that, so she stated, well, why do they have to? Is there something else they could do to keep their cars on there since it is mandatory? So that's what she was stating. But she's not here, so I can't speak for her today, so I'm
Well,
not gonna go by.
And that's not something that would come from the facilities committee, that would come from the rest of the administration.
yeah.
I don't govern that, and that's something Mr. Allen would have to jump on
he's
to.
not.
Yeah.
All right, 4.5, food handling license.
So you asked me for options, and so here's our first option. Our first option is obviously Ms. Brown, who has our food handling license. And this is all from Mr. Weiler, who kind of structures this. Their second option is Ms. Mayo. Ms. Mayo is one of the special education teachers at Ruskin High School. Ms. Brown is unable to be there. Ms. Mayo takes in for her. Third option is that they would like to see outside groups get licenses. Like I think band boosters are in the process of getting those licenses, so they will be able to, man those facilities. And if other groups want to do that, they can do that as well. And then the fourth option is that if we don't have anybody that has a food handler's license on site, they sell prepackaged goods that you don't have to have a food handler's license for. So those are the four options that Mr. Weiler goes through in that process, and so I wanted to present that to you today.
So I guess my question for that is, so Mr. Coach Wilder is over who is in the concession stands?
Well, he's the athletic director, and that
He's
kind of
over
handles that part.
Okay, I just want
Yeah,
to
him
make
and
sure.
Mr. Allen.
And Mr. Allen.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know now. All right. Anything on
Mm-mm.
All right. 4.6, urban start and finish dates. We were talking
Yeah.
about it.
The
The
asphalt's
playgrounds.
finished, it's laid, and it's down. The drainage is in, and so next week is when the playground equipment starts being installed. So I'm hoping that I probably get it all done in a week. There's some weather issues too there, so but they're going to start next week with installing the playground equipment. And they'll start with taking down that big apparatus that's at Johnson. We're going to start there to take it down and bring it over as the one piece we could take. So we'll do that, and then they'll start installing the rest. I have all the equipment at the warehouse. It's just waiting for them to pick it up and take it over once the asphalt's is all completed though.
So
it
is
looks
there
good.
cost savings from the original bid?
No, no, the bid is the same as of right now. There's been no additions or reductions at this time. So what we approved is what it's still at.
So we're meeting our deadline and staying under budget.
Yeah, we're right at budget. So
That's
I
good.
look forward to seeing that next week.
yeah.
And the kids, I know, will be glad to see that because they've been sitting around in there forever.
What about the walkway to the track?
We did not do the walkway to the track due to the cost of that and the engineering that would come with that. That would have raised it astronomically. So we just did a walkway from, there's two walkways actually. One that is from the backside of the gym area where you can walk through. And then there's an asphalt from where that main gate is from the parking lot. Use an asphalt walk down to it.
So you made a
Okay, both.
there's
Yeah,
a
two
path,
paths.
there's two paths?
Yeah.
Okay.
To the playground.
And the goals is up for soccer.
They're gonna put, the goals are there, we're gonna put the basketball goals up next week. Oh, we're gonna do the playground equipment first and the basketball goals last. So,
Okay.
All right, moving right along, 4.7, conference room dividers and the beam work.
yeah, the beam work, met with the MTS, who got approved for the work. They're gonna begin the work. They did some, they came over and re-looked at it again. They drilled some holes and did some stuff with it. They've decided they're gonna do work at night, to avoid any kind of conflict with school. So they'll begin their work right after break, and they'll be working from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. Monday through Friday. And they'll just do it that way instead of we had talked about doing spring break, Christmas break, and they said, you know what, it'll be better for everybody if we just do it, keep doing it in a row, days in a row, and get the work knocked out. That way they can get it done sooner for us, and we'll be out of their way and they'll be out of our way by doing this. So right after break, probably that first or second week, they'll begin that work and they'll be doing it at nighttime. So,
January?
yeah.
So the first year, January.
Yeah, first of the year, right after we're back from break.
And the room dividers up there,
Room dividers, we presented this at Capital Committee, and right now we're still struggling to find the dollars for it. Right now, the room divider dollars is $37,000.
$37,000 for
Yeah.
what?
that's what they wanted, that we wanted to come, we were
So-
trying to come
Okay.
underneath that, yeah.
So we
Going
are,
up
right now, we do not have a money source for that right now. So we're gonna go back to the drawing board to try to figure out if there's a different approach that we can take that is more economical.
What about just putting up the wall like we had discussed?
That is not what the curriculum and CNI department wants to do. They do not want to put up just walls. They want to be something that's instructionally based, and
But you
so
can write
that's
on the
part of
walls, right on the walls.
you can.
I mean, I understand what CNI is saying, but see, CNI does not understand what group, how we don't have the money, so.
Well, we're trying to do both. We're trying to
Yeah.
marry the two together.
Yeah, but
so.
sometimes marriage don't always work, so that's why it always tells you to pick the person that you're supposed to be, we all know that. But we gotta think of economical for our district. I mean,
Absolutely.
and right now, up there in, upstairs, like I said, it's wide open, and if we can build a wall straight down, and that's economical. I mean, every time right now, we're worried about, we have to look at the students. CNI is in the classroom, and they're not there every day. The students are, and they're sitting here looking at each other like this. So if we can put a wall up and it's cheaper, that's the way it's just gonna have to be, because you're gonna have to bring it against the board anyway.
Well, from my understanding, I thought that the CNIT wanted a collaborative learning environment.
Well,
They
they
do.
did.
They do.
Yeah, so if you put a wall up there, it will no longer be.
Well, right now, nobody.
They want it to be flexible where they can be collaborative one moment and not the
Yeah,
next.
not the next.
So they want to be able to do something that they can expand and contract and be able to use it. that
Oh,
way.
so this is the feedback from the teachers that they want something they can expand.
It's teachers and administrators and the building administrator over there too. They want something that they can close things off and then they can bring things back together, so. So we're trying to look for a different system that is cheaper than this, but still has those capabilities. So, we're gonna try to get those folks in over break as well, and see if they can give us a bid for that, so. There's several companies. This was the one that we physically saw at Blue Valley, in that system, but we're gonna seek out some other vendors that do the same type of, mechanisms.
Okay.
I just want us to try to think economical, like
Absolutely,
we
that's why
stated
we're
last
seeking out more
time.
vendors.
And we did, like we said, over there at Santa Fe, they had those things, and they're working just right, and there was not that much money for us at the time. I don't think it's still a lot of money. Was it, I think you said, how much was it the last time you told me?
That was part of the last bond.
Yeah,
I know that Mr. Murchison does not care for those. So.
Yeah, I know he don't care for them, but I'm just saying, economical
Yeah,
wise,
yeah.
we just gotta start looking out for us. All right, anything else?
Mm-mm.
All right, 4.8 Dobbs sign. I brought that up because I was just trying to figure out, how much did it cost us to do this all over again? And what was wrong with the sign at first?
We didn't want them to change colors. Wanted to keep it black, and it didn't cost hardly a thing. It was it was about 4 cans of spray cans.
Well, this is how it looked originally.
It was purple and
Purple,
red.
white, and purple.
Yeah.
And then I started looking at all the schools. When we look at elementary school at Santa Fe, they got their own. I mean, Irvin has their own. Warford has a pretty silver. Burke, and Ingalls has, is that red? Or pink?
I don't know.
Well, they got their own color. And Johnson had a nice metallic. And then when I looked at Dobbs, I was kind of,
We just wanted it to be one color so people could see it easily. And black is the one that displays best amongst that cream background, so it sticks out the best. and you can
what's
see
their
it.
school colors?
I don't know
Dobbs.
what their school colors are.
If I'm not mistaken, it's that color. I just guess here's my thing, did we talk to the principals? Did we get any feedback? Or this is just something that you guys said, hey, we're just gonna play it black?
No, we talked to him. So I talked to him.
Hmm.
In fact, we just talked the other day about it again on our one-on-one conversation.
I don't know what was wrong.
But,
That's school
have
colors.
I haven't been over to Dobbs this month. I
No, we
was
don't.
wondering if we've addressed the chip and paint around the eaves.
No, we have not. It's not, we wouldn't do it now anyway due to the weather, but.
Yeah, I know, I've been
but-
asking for like 2 years about the chip and paint.
We did paint some of those that we discussed 2 years ago. We did change out some of those. That may be new eaves that are chipping now. We can look at painting those this summer.
Yeah,
4.9 Ruskin's roof. The cafeteria, I've said you shared on that.
Yeah, college steps will be done over break. He has the boards. We've already cut them for him, and he has the paint. He's just, he wants to do that when no kids are there, so that'll be installed over break. Cafeteria heater, that heater area space all the way around will be painted over break as well. We have that scheduled and ready to go. Ruskin roof, I'm happy to report that we got a second and third opinion on that roof over the theater. It did not need an overlay
Good.
according to the other two companies, so we were able to fix that for under $900.
Good.
So that was completed today,
I gotta give y'all a hint because we done saved some money. Shit.
So we were happy we did not have to do an overlay, so.
And I just really want to let you know, it really looks good. That whole theater area now that we have finally fixed, and you guys need, when you get a chance, because I went over there to see the color purple, and I mean, that whole area now is fixed. And it looks, oh my goodness, it just looks nice. So I have to give kudos where kudos is.
Well, I will tell you that
And that's
it's a
fine, man.
1978 theater, and it's,
Looks
as we
good.
talked about the athletic facilities being updated in the bond project that I'd like to see us do. I'd like to see us redo that entire theater. It's old. It still looks good,
good.
but
It looks
it
good.
needs to be redone. And I'd love to do that as part of our next bond project too, so.
and while we're on the Ruskin cafeteria, I hope that
It is.
is
It's
in
on the project,
is
yeah.
on the project.
Yep.
Because that antiquated, outdated cafeteria sucks the life out of me whenever I walk in there. I mean, there's no other way to express that needs to be addressed immediately.
Yeah, when we, Carla knows this, when we gave the two firms tonight, the listing of possible projects, that Ruskin cafeteria project was on there, as well as the theater, as well as athletic venue upgrades that we discussed tonight, so.
And what about the corridor
Yeah.
of Ruskin High School, the hallways, lockers and doors?
I did not put lockers on it, but we can change that any time. We can change
I
that.
mean, because we're gonna have a new cafeteria, hopefully.
The cafeteria doors have changed.
No, but
Oh.
we're gonna have a new cafeteria, but as you walk to the cafeteria, that hallway and those lockers,
Sure.
I mean, when I go to Old Smith Hill, it's fresh, vibrant,
Yeah, they've been painted, yeah.
and we need to, figure out something. I mean,
Yeah, I agree
I know
with
what I would say. I might not have enough fight in me to fight for it tonight, but I'm definitely picking up another day. Or
No
maybe
problem.
later this evening.
I'd love that too.
Did we ever, because we talked about those signs last time? Did we get the signs, school signs?
No, I went to
forgot it wasn't on
Mr.
there.
Weiland and
We
showed
did
him
it.
what you wanted to do, and he had actually already made signs.
Yeah,
And so he wanted to do just the signs he made for this basketball season. And so the sign that you're talking about, we're gonna do in the fall for football, and then see if he wants to add those for basketball. But he had already made signs up for basketball season this year. So, the outside sign that you discussed, we're gonna do that for football for next fall, for sure.
So, as possible projects for the bond, did we incorporate the gymnasium of Ruskin High School as one of the potential projects?
All I put was athletic venue upgrade, so it can include, that way it's open for anything. So,
I don't understand that when it comes to the bidding process. Well, I don't understand what that's gonna look like. So
Well-
can somebody walk
well, we're gonna talk about
that?
that's coming down the road. I just put that on there so the folks here can say, okay, it could be football, basketball, track, it could be anything. Tennis, it could be anything. So I wasn't specific because we haven't talked about that yet. I just wanted to tell them it was a possibility for all of them to be upgraded. to include the theater upgrade. So, that's generalities right now. I'm better being wide open for everything so that the folks that are bidding can understand it could be anything.
Well, you know, one of the lessons I learned about that last construction project we did, which was horrible, that I hope that we're not just spending money throughout the district and not managing it project by project, a takeoff by project by project. I mean, it's important that we are able to track where these potential dollars are going by every single project to ensure that we are on target with timelines and that we stay under budget and we're getting what we're paying for. So what kind of systems are we gonna put in place to ensure that's happening?
That's a perfect question for the construction manager, because they will hold all the contracts, not us. So we will no longer be responsible for that, they will be.
But in a fair sense, we still are responsible because
Yeah.
we're gonna have to make sure that it's done. We're gonna still have somebody looking over
Yeah.
it, so from here.
Here's how this works. In the past, we held all contracts. So
Mhm.
27 contracts we held for all the subcontractors and contractors. In construction manager risk, which is what we have to do by policy, the
Mhm.
construction manager holds all the contracts. So he's liable for all the costs. To
Yes.
give you an example, they have what's called gross GPM, which is gross price
Prices.
maximum, okay? So they can say, I'm gonna do this entire project on this GPM, which means if it goes 10 million beyond that, they pay it, we don't. And I think these are important questions to ask these two firms tonight. How do you structure that? How can you guarantee that I'm not gonna have change orders or limited change orders? How are you gonna deal with unforeseens? You know, so on and so, what's the contingency gonna be for all these construction projects, knowing it could be a wide variety of projects? Is it 30 $1 million projects, or is it one $30 million project? And everything in between. Those are questions we need to ask tonight in that 15 minutes, and they have to be able to answer that appropriately for us. So, that's the beauty of construction manager at risk. We're not at risk anymore, they are, for that dollar amount, not us as a district. In the past, the way the Missouri was, we held all the contracts and we were liable for all the construction over costs. Now they are. And that's the beauty of construction manager at risk. And we were the last state to approve it, I believe. Isn't that right, Carol? I think Missouri is one of the last
One of the
states.
To the last state on
Yeah.
everything.
So, for some reason,
You look like you got something to say.
Mm-mm.
Well, since we were talking about corridors and we were talking about it, that, what has been the update on that corridor outside where from the meeting from the cafeteria? It was stated that the lady was getting together, that used to go to Ruskin and was gonna donate some stairs.
the
to go
stairs
up
to go outside.
outside to that corridor out
Yeah.
there, and
She has not, at this point, never gotten back to Mr. Allen about it. So I'm not sure where that donation sits. It's kind of, she said she would donate her time and money, and I think when she saw the project, it was a little bit more than what she thought it would be. So,
okay. All right. Well, she stepped up, but I can keep
the
it.
CAC, is that the one?
4.10 now, we're interviews construction.
Well, that's next, but,
That's 4.10,
yeah,
so.
that'll be at 6 o'clock. The 4.11.
4.11 CAC committee.
So John Sharp contacted me about something, he didn't talk to me about Pike, he called me about the CAC. So currently, they got a grant recently through the United Way, and so their services are somewhat expanding. What they would ask is that since we're opening the former administration building with some offices, he said, is there any way we can take some of our just office people, only doing clerical work, to go over and take up 2 to 3 to 4 offices over there, and we would leave, that way we could expand their services within that current building they're in with some of the stuff they're already doing, like the clothes and all the food pantry part of it. She said, we need that space to expand our supply, basically. So his question was, would it be okay if we could rent or, that space, 2 to 3 to 4 offices over there? And I said, well, John, this is something I have to run through finance and something I have to run through facilities. I ran through finance on Tuesday. I think they were kind of okay with the idea. I think the only thing they asked was, is how much would it be? How much would we charge them? And so Mr. Brooks's idea is give them a proration ratio. So we're currently, they pay $700 for 6,120 square feet. And so the proration to that for about 1,000 square feet or so of office space at the former administration building would be around $200. And so if I think they were okay with that, I think if the facilities is okay with that, we can at least continue to talk about them renting that space of 3 to 4 offices for $200 a month.
Well, me personally, I would counteract that. And the reason why is I'm looking at it like this. They're doing a service for our community. Why not just give it to them free?
I'm good with that too.
Simply, I mean, it might not appear, but I look at it like we're opening the door up for the other people
Sure.
free of charge.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not even giving them, we're not even charging them to be in our buildings. And Mr. Sharp and his establishment has always been in here and helped us. I mean, that's just like I said, I'm one of the 7. They have their own minds. But I would look at it like giving it to them free. I would actually really like for them to really get out of that building and go into one of our own buildings, knock that piece of trash down. I mean, honestly, because that could be something that we could use for ourselves.
Herbal garden.
Oh, yeah, or, park some of our vehicles back there too, I'm just, I look at the long range thing. So I would be good to just let them for free. That's just me.
I think that's fine too. I agree.
But we have to bring it forward the board anyway. So, moving forward.
So I'll bring it before the board, and this is just a discussion item because John has not walked the space yet, and he wants to walk the space with me once we have it all cleaned up, and then I can say, here's the space that I would, provide for you if you wanted it, and then, this might be something really in January we talk about once John has a chance to walk it, go before his board, make sure they're okay with it. He's got to do that as well. So we're a little ways from deciding it, but I wanted to at least bring it to you tonight for a discussion item because I did bring it to finance and told him I'd bring it here as well.
You mean to tell me you don't know that building already?
He should.
Yeah.
He should.
Okay. You got anything on that?
Uh-uh.
All right. All right, 5.0 future board educational committee agendas. Right now, we don't have anything as usual. Something always comes up, and we always try to let everybody know ahead of time.
I want to add a few items.
Go ahead. Future board items?
I want to add a continued discussion of the upgrades, the athletic facility, of our identified potential projects to be upgraded under the umbrella of athletics. I also want to add to the future agenda items that we need to figure out how to start a discussion on identifying what projects are going to be priority if the bond is passed.
Yeah, well, we're gonna identify those projects. We'll give you a calendar of discussion times and meetings, public forums, those types of things. We're gonna provide that once we get the construction manager on board. We'll give you some times and dates. We'll use these times and dates to do just these things that you're talking about. Begin
Right.
identifying those projects.
And the reason why I'm asking this question is because I'm hoping that the district's gonna stabilize its enrollment numbers and we don't have to close any more schools. So I hate to put money in facilities if we haven't stabilized our enrollment. So that's something that I know that we have to think about as a district and as an administration, that we strategically target the buildings that we're going to get our most usage out of.
Agreed.
I would hate to see us put money in something and enrollment's not stabilizing quickly enough.
Agreed.
It's a waste of taxpayers' dollars and student resources. Okay, so being very clear on that. So when are you going to give us a date? When does that discussion start?
We will start that late January, and then for the rest of till into May. Actually, the 1st of May, because we have to identify the projects prior to May 26th and be approved at the May board meeting. because they have to go on the ballot for ballot language. The ballot language has to be approved and finalized May 26th, right, Carl? I think that's correct. So we'll approve those projects that we are putting on the ballot, and we'll approve those probably at the May meeting, if not the April meeting. So spring's gonna be busy with picking these projects that we're talking about, and to include athletic venues.
Can't look forward to picking up these projects.
It's gonna be
I'm
fun.
so excited about
It
it.
is, it's fun. It is fun. It's like shopping with somebody else's credit card. So,
But in shopping, hopefully we'll get
You like that,
what
Carl?
we need.
that's right, that's right. And that's what's so critical about the construction manager. I'm gonna ask the question tonight about value-added engineering. And value-added is the idea of, you know, you're thinking, architects saying you can do these 5 projects. We're saying if you do value-added engineering, you can do 6 projects. So that's the benefit of having both on board at the same time to help us run through that, so.
President, do you have anything else on the future items of Board of Education Committee? We're probably gonna have some more.
No, not
Okay,
this
not
particular
right now.
one.
Okay, moving right along to,
Are they here yet?
Yeah, my guess is there.
6.0 future, meeting at Jake's. December the 19th is the regular session board meeting at 6:30 p.m. 6.2, January 9, 2020, facilities committee meeting at 5:30.
We're not adjourning the meeting, they're coming in.
Yeah, I'm reading right
Okay.
now. And then, I got you. At 7.0, I adjourn this meeting if there's no more questions.
We're not
Aaron?
adjourning, because they're coming in right there.
No, that's that's a new one.
Yeah, it's a
That's a start of a new thing. That's why he's combined. I got
Oh,
this
okay.
one. I got you back. So at this time at 5:47, if we don't have any more questions, concerns, comments, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So,
Now we start the next.
We had 2 firms that we came down to be interviewed. Newkirk and Novak is the group we have at 6 o'clock tonight, so we'll start with that. Start with them. With us we have Justin Durham, who I think all of you know. Justin is our lead architect and project manager for the Hickman Middle School District, and he'll be here just kind of lend us some advice if needed. So he's also obviously has an intimate need to be here, knowing that one of these firms who he's going to be working with in our bond project. So we appreciate him being here. So for the board, Newkirk and Novak is who we have tonight at 6 o'clock. Remember, 45 minutes, and we have an opportunity to ask questions for about 15. I'll let you introduce your team. Tonight we have Ms. Waukesha Briggs, who is our president of our school board. Mr. Clifford Reagan, who's the vice president of our school board. Justin, Dr. Skinner is our deputy superintendent. Mr. Alan Brooks is one of our board members, and is a member, chair of the finance committee. And Ms. Carla Fields Johnson is our legal counsel. Ms. April Hale is one of our teachers and leader of the MST, or NEA, or not NEA, sorry, NEA for the school district. And then our tech help. Awesome. 57. It was important right here. We are very happy.
This is our tech help.
That's right. Yeah, and Newkirk Novak tech help. So introduce your team and then please begin.
Great, wonderful. Well, real quick, we want to thank you for the opportunity to be here today. We understand the importance, I assume everybody can hear me, the importance that this bond program is to Hickman Middle School District. And we're here to articulate to you our entire team and their different roles, the importance that we know it is and our responsibility to execute for you. So thank you for the opportunity to be here to present and on this exciting opportunity. I am John Novak, and this is Lynn Newkirk, and we are the co-founders of Newkirk Novak Construction Partners. He won the coin flip, so his name got to go first. I'm not bitter about it or anything. It just happens. That's how it goes. But anyway, we're going to get into it. We'll do introductions. I've got a couple slides up front that we want to speak to, and then we'll get to our team. But before we get to the team, you might not see a name in your book. And we've got Elvis with us, who is a high school intern that we've spent a lot of time with. And we wanted him to be here because we don't look at ourselves as just contractors. We have to be a partner, and as a school builder, we understand the importance of what we're building for, okay, and who we're building for. And we just want him here, one, for twofold. We want you to understand, we're going to give him a chance to kind of talk about what he learned and experienced from us, and how we stay in contact with him. But also, more importantly, we want you to understand, how important it is to us that, as a school builder, that's what we do. And so, we have him here because the holistic learning approach that he learned from us was, we had him out in the field, we had him in project management, we let him see accounting, the business side of it. And then, this is part of the business side of it. We want to expose him to a presentation and interview because this is what it takes in our industry to get a job. So anyway, that's Elvis. You're going to hear from him later, but I wanted to introduce him before I got into a couple slides. So here, real quick, we've got 30 to 40 minutes of presentation. We're excited to get to the Q&A. We think that's an important part. We want you to have the opportunity to ask us questions that are on your minds and how we answer them. So here's a quick agenda that we're going to cover today. If you break it up into thirds, who we are. We want to talk to you a little bit about defining our company and how we view ourselves and what's important to us and why we are the company we are. And we're going to talk a little bit about us understanding you, because that's important. If we're going to be a partner, we have to understand you and make sure we get that. And then we'll get into introductions of the team and the different roles that they would play on your project. Then we're going to, and that will be up front fairly quick, then we want to get into your project being our priority. It's not about a project, it's about, if you walk away not understanding what a priority your project would be to us, then we fail. And we want you to understand what a priority it is, and we're going to show that in this center section. And the topics we're going to cover in the middle about your project is our inclusion and outreach program, our pre-construction, our cost control, and how we communicate that. Because it's, all these topics are very important to what you're doing, and we have processes and procedures in place, and we want you to understand how we do them. And then finally, why we fit, why we would be a good partner. We don't want to be a contractor, we want to be your partner in this, and there's a lot of aspects that go into just building that, and then we'll get into Q&A. So next slide, this is the defining the company piece. When Lynn and I were starting our company, it was important to us to figure out how we wanted to be viewed by our owners, architects, our trade partners, and the community. So this is a little whiteboard that we put together of, words that how we wanted to be viewed, and they're important to us. We take them seriously. Words like responsive, engaged, relationship-driven, ethical, transparent. But the most important word that's going to pop up here is partner. You can't be a good contractor if you're not a good partner. And that's why we actually have it in our name. It's Newkirk Novak Construction Partners. That has nothing to do with our legal partnership. It has to do with, that's how we view what we do holistically in construction. So that gets us to defining the company. Lynn, I'm going to have you talk a little bit about the next slide and understanding Hickman Mills.
Is it okay if we keep kind of moving around? I might even slide way out of your screen. I'll be good. Okay, so, to be a good partner, we've got to understand a lot more about, your vision, what's important to you, okay? And we've done a little bit of research, and we don't today want to pretend like we know everything about this district. We know everything about what you need, okay? But we really want to be good partners, and understanding your vision of who you are is a big part of that. So we know you've got 13 buildings, and they're old buildings. They're 54 years old, and so you've got a lot more need than what you're going out for right now. Okay, so our job as your construction manager is to figure out how to stretch those dollars as far as we can. Okay, so we're pretty good at that, but that's our job. We know that balancing your budget is a real priority. You've made some really tough decisions with schools recently, and this has to be part of that. The community's looking at that, and they're going to be watching this closely. Where are these dollars being spent? And then committed to building community and career participation. Okay, that's a big part of what Elvis is here for, and what we believe in is getting these kids in a place where they can go out and be prepared in the real world, whether that be on a professional side or on a trade side. Okay. Okay, a little bit about this is our team, and you see more faces here than what we brought team members, so we don't have enough time for everybody to talk. But Kim Randolph is going to be our community outreach liaison. Okay, and we've got a video. She's not able to be here. She's actually where she should be tonight. She's at her granddaughter's graduation, college graduation. So pretty cool. She's out of town. And I'm going to let Anna and the rest of these guys go ahead and introduce themselves. You can pass it down.
Hi.
Moving fast.
I'm Anna Boozer. I am up there as bond support, but what that really means for me is I partner with Kim just to help drive communication. So anything that you guys need, that's what I'm here for. So, yeah.
Perfect. You've met Elvis and I, so I'm going to push it down to Greg.
My name's Greg Turner. I'm one of our superintendents and also will be kind of a daily point of contact for your leadership.
My name is Brandon Stanley. I'll be a construction project manager. I'll be taking over after Mike's done with pre-con on the day-to-day of the construction side.
Mike Clifford, I'll be the pre-construction lead on this effort, so I would get involved very early on, working with Justin and the Hollis Miller team and Dan and the team from the district to navigate that pre-construction process, which we'll explain in much further detail later on.
Okay, so you've got a lot of work that you're spreading across 2 or 3 summers. You know, we don't know all the stats, but around $25 million worth of construction. And if we're trying to spread that over 2 or 3 summers, that's 9 months. It's a pretty good click on the burn rate. And so we've prepared, you know, we've got more folks than this, but Chris Siebert is another superintendent who we can bring to the table to help, and just Spencer Brown also, another project engineer. So we can create multiple teams if we've got to be on multiple sites to make sure that we're managing everything you need us to manage appropriately. Go ahead. Okay, your project, our priority. And so this is Kim Randolph, and she did an amazing video for us. So we're going to go ahead and play this, but this really covers how we plan to communicate with the community, get inclusion and outreach so that we can really reach as deep as possible. Okay? Oh, time out. That's okay. Is there an audio that we can?
We did not test
We
the
didn't
sound.
test the sound.
It plays, but we didn't test that.
We've got the technical expertise to make this work.
We can build it, we just don't know how to use it.
Well, you're on foreign soil here, so it's our fault.
No, it's okay. Just one more challenge. That's what we deal with every day is challenges.
How good of lip readers are you?
Put the mic by it, Lynn, the microphone.
Yeah. Where's the sound? From the speaker. Yep. Where's the sound coming from? Too quiet. Can we play it out of this and I try the speaker on it? Yeah. Okay. Do you have her slides by chance? Yeah. Will it play on the screen? No.
Okay.
Right there. Yeah, go ahead and grab those for me.
Okay.
I'll try to do what Ken would have done much better. Do you have those? You probably don't have those.
exciting, you know, so Kim, obviously she's devastated she couldn't be here, but like Lynn said, she's at her granddaughter's college graduation and she had to leave today. She is a Ruskin grad, and so she's pretty passionate about, you know, what we're doing, and we've got a long partnership of successful, you know, teaming with Kim. So that's kind of the gist of what we talk about. It's we're very proud of the video and what she articulated. So as we're saying, we wouldn't be able to articulate it as well as she would. And actually, it's amazing when she's here together to see the dynamic of what we bring. But we'll hit on some of the things she talked about. We could potentially just go to that final slide and touch on that. Maybe if we could get it to play at the end, that would work too.
So it looks like an idea. Oh, here we go. Maybe. All right. Thanks.
Okay, so I can't speak as high as you can either.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, so what Kim is founder and CEO of InkU LLC. Okay, she's 29 years of experience in bringing diversity and inclusion in the construction industry, and what we do is partner on most all of our projects with her. So it's not just a district such as yours with the demographic of yours that we're worried about this. We're really looking for that inclusion on every project we do. She's a Ruskin High School graduate, and she partners with us, as I said. Let's go on to the
1976, she said. She was
Yeah.
very excited about that.
Go on. So she has developed over all of her years a catalog of qualified local minority and business organizations. We also have our own database, so together we team with those qualified folks. She's very good. What's kind of neat about what she does, which is different than what a lot of other folks do, is once those bids come in, okay, we track the diversity, and then we make sure that we're back out to all of those folks who maybe were not successful, and they understand why they were not successful. We provide all that data to you guys because as a board, that'll be important to you as well. The other thing that we found that she's very good at is becoming a liaison with the community. So during the course of the project, the school board can get drawn into a lot of questions. And if she's there and can become a trusted person that the community will come to, she can oftentimes be a go-between between the board, the school, and the community. It's worked really well for us in the past. Also, she's able to attend board meetings, answer your questions, make sure that those are being tracked and understood. We hold town hall meetings to make sure that all the voices and stakeholders that are interested can be heard. This is all, of course, with your cooperation, your blessing that we do that. We wouldn't go beyond that. Anna will also work with her if there's information. You know, Anna does a lot of our graphics and our own business work, so she's very good at producing documents that need to go to the community. So you don't need to be burdened with that. We can create those ourselves. It's also a learning opportunity, so we like to involve the students when possible. So there's several opportunities for that. Classroom during the work, they could be, you know, we could bring students to the job site. If they want to see how the trades are working, be involved in that. Student internships, hands-on classroom training. We host an industry day, and then maybe there's an opportunity for some sort of program where we could bring interns into our office and make them a part of what we're doing every day. Do you have something?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, we can pass this out. So we created a diversity inclusion plan. Okay, I think this will be different than anybody else that you'll talk to tonight. So we developed this. This can be modified for any in any way that you want, but it's a step in the right direction, and you can see if that's something that would fit for this district or not. We found it to be amazing for us to include.
So I think the moral of the story is what we just passed out is just a dedicated diversity and inclusion plan. The thought is going into it, and that's, you know, Kim's created this. It's a roadmap for inclusion, and so that's what you're looking at right now.
Okay, so I'm just going to wrap up a couple of things. We team a lot together, so this isn't our first time. We work with you guys to define what does success look like. Okay, is it important, is it not important, and how do we go about that? We start that process pretty much the day we get hired, and we get involved in the pre-construction process. There's the estimating part, but there's also the community outreach that needs to start as soon as somebody's on board. We collect all the data and we make sure that the bidders understand why they were successful or why they were not. This can be a positive, but it can also be a negative if folks are not successful and then they're frustrated by that. Okay, so we've got to make sure that we are transparent in how we do this with them. It's really important. Anna, do you want to, those last two?
Well, so then again, Kim is really a great liaison and touch point between your community, the board, right? She can answer a lot of questions. I'm happy to help her however I can. We just find the more positive, proactive we can be with our communication, whether that's like social media or if you guys want like a website set up that shows projects, whatever you think, Justin, whatever you think, whatever you guys want, we're here to help. And then again, the learning opportunities for students. I wish you guys could hear Kim's video. She is really cool because she said, I think in her closing, she said, as a graduate, when I graduated, I never thought I'd have the opportunity to come back in this capacity to the community that I grew up in, to my alma mater, and help students like me see a future and see the potential and what they can do. So I think that says it.
That's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, now we're going to jump into pre-construction. We're kind of off of that last topic. Mike Clifford's going to run this, but I may jump in once in a while. Mike.
All right, so pre-construction
Mike,
is.
hold the mic.
Am I close enough? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
So this is what I'm passionate about. It's what I do all day, every day. I think it's extremely important. I may be biased, but my feeling is that 90% of the decisions that affect budget and schedule and even quality are made during the pre-construction effort. So a very important process, and we'll get into how we navigate that. As a CM, you guys selected a CM at risk delivery method, which we feel like is the best method to do a bond issue like this. But as a CM, we're a very, very small piece of the pie, as in the overall cost of the project. So, but as a builder, we're able to get in on a CM at risk project, to get in early and help throughout the design with Justin and his team. And as a builder, we inject value engineering throughout the design process early. We inject constructability into the design so that when we get up to the bidding process and when we turn it over to Brandon and Greg, those guys are off and running and off to a great start. Go ahead. Oh. So the pre-construction effort, this slide is just kind of about how we navigate that process. It's a very collaborative effort. There's going to be a lot of people involved. At first, it's myself and our team getting involved with Justin and the team from Hollis and Miller, Dan and the team from the district, and just getting to know your vision, what your goals are, and very early on, developing a budget. So a budget for the overall bond issue, because we need to keep an eye on that all the way through the construction process. If you don't have an eye on the big picture as you're pricing up each project that we attack, you can lose track of things. So we're very experienced in doing that. So all while we're working through here, we're doing budgets, we're building schedules, detailed schedules to make sure that we know how long these projects are going to take. We know when the right time is to attack these projects. But we're also getting involved with the community. So that may be local subcontractors, diverse subcontractors, working our inclusion plan to make sure that we have, by the time we get to this stage and we're ready to bid, we've had subs involved in budgeting, the community's aware, we've created a buzz about the project so that subs want to get involved. They're preparing, they know we're gonna bid these handful of projects out in May or whatever. They're ready to bid them, and they make sure they have people available. We make sure we're including the whole community and just really turn this into a very successful bond issue. So throughout the pre-construction process, there's going to be tons of questions coming from tons of different angles. They might be hard to see, but things like staff of school might be wondering, what's this going to look like when that project's done? Subs are wondering, can I bid this project? How do I get involved? Do you need help budgeting the project? And we'll let them get involved.
Sorry. Oh, do you want
So A big question is, when will this project be done? So that's why we build schedules during pre-construction, so that we're laying that out for people. That's a big thing for subcontractors. You know, a lot of times a sub has a go or no-go decision to make on a big project, and it's purely based on schedule, because they might have 90% of their crews tied up until June, but this is perfect for them in July. So if we're telling them that's when it's going to hit, that's how we get cost-effective numbers out of the market. So we're an advocate for the district. We're here to answer questions, and we're there throughout the project. Maximizing diversity and inclusion. So Kim and I, we really work together during pre-construction to make sure we're following our inclusion plan. And this is what really, you know, in the beginning, this is what creates that buzz about the work that we're going to bid out. But then, like Lynn mentioned, we'll take sub numbers and we'll make sure we have everybody included, but we'll help those subs out. So a sub might not get one job with us, but he'll wonder, where did he stand on that? We'll help explain that to them, what they might have done right, what they might have done wrong. You know, were they cost effective, were they not? And we'll help give them that guidance, obviously, after the fact. Everybody's got to give one competitive hard bid number when it comes time to bid that job. And we'll help subs out with that. So qualifying trade partners, navigating the pre-construction process, it's extremely important to get the right contractors involved in these jobs. So there's big checks that we need to make. You know, are these subs financially strong, so that we're not taking risk financially, because we have a huge financial responsibility, like we hit on earlier. There's maybe $120 million worth of work that's needed or desired. So we really have to maximize what we get out of this bond issue. So we can't be making irresponsible decisions. Like we've talked, we track our subcontractors, so we know which subs are competitive on education work and that want to do it and have the crews available to do it, because the schedules on education work can be tough. If we're doing a lot of this work over the summer, we need to know that we have the guys who can ramp up their crews and do this work. So budget control, an overall overriding philosophy of mine is that as a pre-construction lead, I'm the ounce of prevention for this work. So if I do my job right through pre-construction and our team does their job right, we'll value engineer through design, we'll get the budget right, we'll get the right subs involved, and then when we bid these jobs, they hit on budget and we're not over budget after receiving bids, trying to value engineer after the fact and back into a number. That's just not the way to do things. That would be applying a pound of cure to a project, which is just, it's not a good process. So we do our job right, we budget right, numbers come in, and these guys are ready to go as soon as we put our numbers together. So that's our pledge. So we'll approach it, this bond issue, proactively, with transparency. We're a wide open book, so you guys can always get involved as much as you want to get involved, but I know you guys have day-to-day jobs and they're full-time jobs, so maybe you want us to run with this and just be a trusted partner. So we'll be that extension of your staff. You'll know where every dollar is being spent and every dollar is being saved. So that's pre-construction. That's what I'm passionate about. Feel free to ask questions when we get to that point.
Real quick, as Brandon's coming up to talk to you a little bit more now about the the construction piece, both Brandon and Greg are going to talk more now about the construction piece. How are you? As you can see, we've invested a lot of time in this pre-construction phase. And I want to just kind of sum up. You saw the amount of slides and the effort that goes into in the plan. And I'll just sum up kind of that first slide. 90% of the decisions that impact budget, schedule, and quality are done in that pre-construction phase. It's very critical. I mean, that gives you the roadmap to execute properly. And so that's why we invested the time in it and how it's very important. I mean, it's the old saying, you know, if you fail to plan, or if you don't, what's the saying? You know, if you don't plan properly, you fail to plan. I had it, but you need to have a roadmap and plan it out. I'm sorry, I had it right there. It was a great punchline, but it's very important.
Yeah.
Failing.
Yeah, that was off
plan.
mic.
Plan.
Yeah, that was off mic.
Failing to
That's not
plan,
recorded.
plan to fail. Okay? So sorry about that. I had it ready to go, but it is important, and that's what I want you to make sure you understand about the pre-construction side of things. So.
Please, Brandon, start talking.
So we're gonna shift from the pre-con side to the construction side. I can tell you, just as passionate as Mike Clifford is about pre-con, Greg and I are passionate about the actual construction side of it once we bid things out. So hopefully you've heard a theme here tonight, and that theme is, one of the themes is clarity, transparency, and communication. We've been talking about communication from the very beginning, and so communication definitely continues all the way through the project, verbal and nonverbal. And so during the construction phase, there's multiple different aspects and venues that we will be communicating, not only with you, but also your board, who's here tonight, community members, teachers, administrators, etc. So one of the ways is face-to-face meetings, and this is just a very short list of the meetings we could have, some of which will be involved between us, the design team, yourselves, your administrators, and even your patrons, such as town halls. So safety meetings, project kickoff meetings, progress meetings, OAC meetings, which means owner architect contractor meetings, so it's kind of a meeting we'll have weekly or bi-weekly on an as-needed basis. Foreman's meetings, which will be happening on site with Greg and our superintendent and foreman from all of our trades to make sure that we're having the right progress and the right direction on the jobs. And also trade coordination meetings between mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, make sure everything goes together seamlessly and there's no clashes. One of the nonverbal communication tools we have is something Anna's going to hand out. This is a sample, and we do this a lot. I think the one we're handing out is from Blue Springs School District, which we recently completed. This is a weekly report, just an example of something that could be tailored to you, tailored to your needs. This is created by the field, by the superintendent, and is sent out to whoever needs this weekly by email. The Blue Springs School District, for instance, uses this as their board communication tool monthly. So they take this to the board and share this with the board monthly. This is a one-pager. It could easily be a 2 or 3 pager, depending on what you need yourselves to communicate clearly. Also, in working with Anna, we could be working in Facebook or any other sort of social media that you would like to have or like to see. Maybe something your students could be looking at, just so that everybody gets engaged and involved, so we know, get that engagement everybody would like to have in this sort of project.
Brandon, we've had districts use it on their, as he said, their website to communicate to the community what's happening. People want to know what's happening and what's coming up. And then also it's great for the administration, for the schools where the construction might be happening. It's another tool where we're meeting with the principals and saying, hey, this is the activities that are happening and they're going to happen. And so it's a great tool.
And so now I'll turn over to Greg, talk about kind of the things that we think about on the job site for Midwood.
Well, first off, Brandon and I are really blessed people because we both like building relationships with our contractors, and that's a huge part of what we do. We get a lot done without change orders because of that. And we're really lucky to work for Lynn and John to allow us to kind of stretch that a little bit and really love what we do, which is where we're at. So just a few things to talk about: site access, so logistics. A lot of times we'll put together for you guys and also for your community sort of a plan to show just sort of how we're going to run a job site so that you guys can actually get a good visual for how that's going to happen. We try and find ways to steer clear of the students if we need to do things in off hours, bring people in certain ways so that we're not disturbing particular streets or neighborhoods or something like that. We definitely like to be a good neighbor. Also, site security is a huge issue with us. You're going to have a lot of kids looking and wanting to know what's going on. And at some level, we really like to be a part of those kids. And so if we can get into a teaching scenario at some level with teachers or with the kids, that's something that we're big time supportive of. So in any way we can do that, we're all about it. I don't know why we've got on-site utilities up there. It's a necessity.
There are always problems.
There are sometimes problems,
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll work through those. Challenges are what we do, and we love it. So all of these fall into being a good neighbor. Considerate of not just residential neighborhoods, but also businesses, and we like to just. We don't want to make a big mess of everything. We really like to work with everybody involved. And it seems to make the jobs go a lot smoother. So,
and another thing on that would be communication with you, so you guys know what we're doing and when. because, I mean, something that's not on this, but logistics would be construction activities in relationship to testing. State testing, for instance, I mean, we're very noisy, we can be.
Yeah.
And we definitely don't want that close to any schools or any classrooms that are having active state testing. So that's stuff that we will be communicating with you up front, saying, here's where our lab activities are gonna be, here's when they're gonna be, how does it impact you?
So just, I want to touch on this just a little bit. So I really didn't touch that much on site security, and I think that's something that's really important to all of us. And I brought in this hard hat. It's just kind of an example for all y'all to see. So we have capabilities of doing background checks of all of our contractors, just so we know who's coming on site. Also, another way that I keep track, or our superintendents keep track of who's coming and going, is we have them check in, and we do a safety sort of spiel, if you will. We've got a video we make them watch and just make sure everybody's up to speed. And then we have everybody sign in, and we assign them a numbered sticker. So that way we know who is who. So if we have a problem with somebody, or if an administrator or something doesn't like something that they're seeing, they can let us know what number's on that hard hat. And a lot of companies do this, so it's sometimes a little tough. I kind of try and get my guys to cover up other people's stickers. Just not to be mean or anything, but just to make it more visible, so we know who's coming and going. That way we can kind of keep track of what's happening.
Surprises. Nobody likes surprises unless it's their birthday, right? And if you're me, you don't even like that. But how do we minimize surprises? And you don't want to minimize surprises because surprises are always costly, and costly in many different ways. First one being monetarily, they cost you money, us money. Second one would be schedule, always costs you in schedule. And the third one would be they're giving you political cost for surprises. So we want to mitigate all of that. Here's a few of the ways we'll be doing it, working to minimize those. Some of these are happening during the pre-construction phase, so something Mike Cliff will be working on, such as the first two, working with Hollis Miller for complete drawings, second one, constructability reviews, and on-site investigations. This is a photo that was taken during on-site investigation very recently at a school, very close to here, actually. So there's a acoustical ceiling down here, very similar to this. Above that acoustical ceiling was a rated lid. So this is a rated deck, fire rating, so fire cannot pass through this to meet code. That's a hole, that's a hole, that's a hole, that's a hole.
Not to mention we've got some code violations with electrical.
Yes, so
as well.
many issues here. That was about a $250,000 problem that we found during that on-site investigation. The fact that we found that early before we bid this project out helped to mitigate that cost and bring that cost down so that it does not affect you as much and you get more bang for your buck. If this would have been located or found after we bid this out, it would have been much more costly and would be a contingency issue. So this is one of the things that we worked with the design team to make sure we mitigate up front. Efficient scopes of work's another one, clear path for construction, which is the schedule and logistics. Planning for the unknown, contingency, having healthy contingency so that we know we're all covered. Being your advocate and avoiding changes and be challenging our subcontractors and your subcontractors in this case to make sure everybody's fair and everybody's effective.
Yeah, I'll just say on the being your advocate, so Dan, in a job, a lot of these projects, they're gonna be renovations, they're messy, there is a lot of chances for unforeseen, so our job is to take the gray out of those plans, try to make sure that we've got them scoped correctly, but when there is an issue, we need to be setting, and will be setting on your side of the table, advocating for the district, not our trade partner. Now, we're gonna be fair with them, but we're gonna be very firm and fair, so, when we can help, we do help, and make sure that we take care of you guys. Not sure what's next. This is the best part of our whole interview, guys.
This is where fun comes in.
And I'll be quick.
We should have started with this.
There's opportunities for students. We touched on this early on, okay? But this is not about being just your contractor and your partner. When construction is going on, we have kind of a live learning lab for students as we're doing construction. If we don't take advantage of that, shame on all of us. So, we talked about we can do class visits, student internships, hands-on class learning, host industrial days. And so that's exciting for us. We're here to educate kids, and we have an opportunity to educate kids in what we're doing. So I'd like to just have Elvis talk a little bit about what he learned from his internship with us and what it meant to him. So Elvis.
Thank you, John. So my name's Elvis. I'm a senior at Shawnee Mission West in the Shawnee Mission School District. And over the summer, I had the opportunity to be a part of the Leadership Shawnee Mission. And during that program, I got an internship with Newkirk Novak. And my story is that I want to be a chef and have my own restaurant. And there wasn't any like businesses that were in the chef sides for internships, so I came with Newkirk Novak. So I was more shadowing them on like the business sides, on how to start a company, how to make partnerships, and how to like have the right people on your team, how to interview people, how to manage the money. And I learned that a lot from John and Lynn. They took me under their wing. I spent 3 weeks with them over the summer, and I had very fun with Greg, going to sites, and they took good care of me. So yeah, and then that was during the summer. Now it's December, and they still keep in touch with me, see how I'm doing, check up on me occasionally, and I learned a lot from them, and they're really great mentors to me. So thank you guys.
Yeah. Our pleasure.
Yeah, I wish when I was his age, I had the plans that he has.
Yeah,
It's
no kidding.
pretty amazing, and the vision he has for what he wants in his life. We couldn't convert him to construction.
Not from a lifetime.
But, yeah, he's somebody we're gonna see hopefully around this town, and no. But should I make
Sorry.
this, well, I can only, I only do one thing at a time. Okay, why we fit? You wanna come on up, John?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're almost there for Q&A, and
Yep.
I think, are we on schedule?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay,
You're
all right.
fine.
So, we started this company so that we could be involved and engaged in our projects. We came from a very, very, very large firm, and the work that we did there was important, but we couldn't be personally engaged in the projects anymore. We just had too much ground to cover, and it wasn't our job at that point. So it is our job now, and that's one of the main reasons we did this, was so that we could be engaged with our clients and with our teams on projects and understand what's going on. And it's amazing. Yeah, once in a while we care what Justin's doing too. But it's an amazing thing for us to be back engaged like that, and to be personally involved and be able to make decisions quickly. And if Dan has an issue that we're not able to solve with our team, there's a phone call. There's not 5 layers to go through to get to us. And we're probably going to know it because they'll tell us. But if there's something that needs done, we'll get there.
Yeah, the community involvement, hopefully you've heard that tone throughout. I mean, this is a community project, and the more we communicate properly and involve the community, that's where you have success. And we're aware of that. We're not, again, I've said it a couple times, we're not here just to be a contractor. And so that's the reason for that bullet.
You may do this one. Okay, so pre-construction experts, we brought really good people, but to be really good at pre-construction, you've got to have a lot of experience. You've got to have made mistakes so you know where to go look above the ceiling for those next big gotchas, okay? You've got to have a great relationship with the design team so you can have those hard conversations. This detail needs to be drawn this way so that we can build it better or less expensively. They've got to be able to come to us and say, hey, I'm challenging those dollars that you're applying to that. I think that's too high. I think we can get a better deal on that, okay? And that's, Justin doesn't have any trouble coming to us with those kind of conversations.
I should take the next one.
So we probably work with Hollis & Miller, are lucky enough to work with them on our school work probably 70 to 80% of the time. There's a pretty deep relationship that we have. They've been very helpful to us in our young company's history, and we want to reward that, so we work extra hard to make sure that they look good. And they don't need a lot of help, but we do.
Commitment to your projects. I think it's important to stand up here and say, this isn't just another project to us. This would be a major, this would be a top priority for our company. And that's why we set out to do what we did. And we want you to know that. We're not just here because essentially to feed a machine. Okay, our machine is very nimble, and we believe this would be an amazing fit. And if we were fortunate enough to be on your team, it would have the top attention from our company, and we want you to know that. It would be very important, and it would have, it would be very important to the success of our company to be part of this project.
I was gonna say one thing. Please, we're so proud of the people that we've worked with, the jobs that we've done. Please check our references. We think that may be the strength, and check everybody's references, but we're really proud of the people that we've worked with. We want you guys to say really great things about us if we get to work for you. Yeah, extension of your staff. So everybody here has a full-time gig already. Dan, you might work as much as 40 hours a week already doing something else, right? Understood. So, yeah, and so we understand that. So what can we do to help offload that work, to not add to your workload? So think of us as, your employees, and we hope that there's no difference between what you need and you can go ask anybody on your staff to do and what you need us to do. And we hope that we could be as responsive and nimble as they are for you. So
That's it.
And I think that's it. We're at 1 minute left, so
Thank you.
we're ready for Q&A.
Well, I have a question. First of all, I want to thank you guys for coming and presenting. And trust me, I know I've checked your references.
Uh-oh.
Good.
And I'm glad that you spoke about making our project your top priority if you were selected as our construction manager over our project. This will be my first go around with a bond project, but we inherited another bond project when I joined the Board of Education. One of the biggest things that I experienced is I don't want to have our vice president or directors running around job sites doing checking what you guys are doing. And I'm glad that you presented this Blue Springs phase report where you provided updates to the Board of Education. And I'm glad that you guys touched also on the change order process and the pre-construction phase of it. That's one of the things that I identified in one of our last projects that I think that we could have done a better job as a district in doing, is really assessing the pre-construction part of that. And so I'm glad that you kind of spelled that out. I'm pretty confident in what you presented today, that you know what you're doing. And so it's just a matter of, what the board is, how the board is interested in proceeding. But you answered all of my questions. And then the example with the young man, affording him an opportunity to have a real live learning experience with you, though he wants to be a chef, and expose him to the business side of construction. Dollars and dollars at the end of the day, and management is, that's the bottom line. So, I'll let the other, we have Director Cecil Watcher, who just joined us, and Director Brooks, and Vice President Reagan, and we'd open up for questions. So, gentlemen.
Well, I just got one question. How many internships do you all give out to the students? And if you all are selected, I heard you guys like to basically grow your own, sounds like, because you like to get engaged with the students. And I think that's a good thing. Is for not everybody can go to college.
Mm-hmm.
Some people might have to take up a trade. And that's something that I think is very important if we are going into the millenniums. I said it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, just looking at that, I would just like to hear some feedback on that.
Yeah, so last summer we had 2 interns that we had. I think there's multiple programs that could be used, and this and Kim actually has helped us facilitate that. So I think I think it'd be interesting to evaluate where the biggest benefit is. Is it programs and where we can have students involved periodically, or is it an internship where they're actually embedded with us? I think we could probably handle 2 high school interns and make them very successful throughout the summer with us and engaged. I don't know if you guys have a thought on that.
Yeah, I have a comment.
Here
I
you go.
think really that's something we would want to sit down with you and figure out what's the best fit for the district, because it varies from district to district and need. When you're talking high school, Elvis is a perfect example. Kids don't know what they want to do, but at the end of the day, they want to learn about hands-on experience. It takes time to teach them appropriately and show them the different aspects as you're running the company. But I will tell you, it's probably more rewarding for us to build a relationship with him and teach him than maybe it is for him. But we really enjoyed it. But so on the high school level, the specific one-on-one internships, You know, we could talk to you about that, but you know, a couple would be great. But I think where you get you maximize it when you talk about the trades, getting classes through, coordinating that with classes. Greg is an amazing, you know, we coordinate that, and that's where you can really get the hands-on from the trades perspective, okay? And so it varies from time to time. You could do classroom, we could do industry days. We had that up there. Kim coordinates industry days, so we could do that. So again, I think it's something we would want to sit down and figure out what's the right fit for you, if that answers it.
So I think also something that's really important to touch on with today's youth is that something I noticed about high schools and such when you're coming out of that is they don't really hit on leadership. And if you're going to be a successful individual, you better have those leadership skills. That's something that I learn every day from my bosses. No kidding. I work at a great place with great leadership, and that's really a huge part of what drives our success. And I think that, or I like to think that, you know, on the job site, that's what we do, and that's what we love to do, is provide that leadership. And when I say leadership, I don't mean to, you know, just telling guys what to go and do. That's building a relationship and helping our trade partners to get to the goal. You know, that's a big deal for us. So for somebody, you know, a young man like Elvis here, his vision is clear. He knows what he wants to do. So I'm excited to see what he does, because I think he's going to kill it, honestly.
I have a question. Oh, please, go ahead. Please.
First, I appreciate your diversity and inclusion plan. As you know, the Hickman Middle School District is not part of the City of Kansas City Class Disparity Study, so we don't have formal MBE WBE goals. Couple of questions. I see the percentage numbers that you've put in your plan. Is that your commitment to MBE and WBE participation for this project, both on the design and construction and on the workforce side? And then secondly, so that's my first question. Secondly, can you speak to your experience with setting and meeting MBE and WBE goals on projects where there aren't goals set, as compared to projects where there are goals set? That
Yeah.
clear?
It's fair. That's a fair question because you asked it. Yeah. So I think on the goals that we set for this project, that they were set, you know, and conversations with you guys, because as we go after those percentages, all right, and we start to target certain trades where we know those partners exist, okay, how selective are we going to be, or restrictive in those trades? So I feel like we've got to get a handle on how aggressive do you want to be in that arena, okay? In terms of, so if you said we want to be at 20% or we want to be at 28% or whatever, we can get there, but we need guidance from the board, I think, to do that, okay? On our percentages where we don't have goals or any necessarily incentive or directive from the client, we actually don't track them. Sorry. So we don't have good data on that. Go ahead.
I get part two.
Okay. Well, I'll let you take it.
So
Mike tracks it.
So a good
He's a
example,
metric guy, so-
we definitely track it. A good example of this is Port KC. We did their new offices. So when we went after that project, we knew that was a big goal. I mean, that was important to who was going to be selected to do that job. So when my team went through that project and we decided who we were going to go out to, we made sure every single trade had options. That we didn't just go to MBE, WBE companies, but we made sure we had options in every single trade. And we made sure they knew about the project, and we made sure they knew our projected schedule, like I talked about earlier. So they're interested, they're confident, they gave competitive numbers, and on that project, we ended up with 25% was our combined MBE, WBE participation. So, and we won it, and we knocked it out. Brandon ran the project, and it was a great project. So that's a good example of how we do it.
But back to the inclusion plan, I think this is something that we do need to sit down as the district and figure out what's right, because it doesn't do any, it doesn't do the district or anybody good if we set unrealistic goals if the qualified contractors aren't there. And so that's where we have to sit down. Mike has actually brought a sheet of contractors you could pass around that we've identified, and we have a listing of MBE, WBA contractors that we know how to solicit, but we have to tee them up for success. And how do we do that? And so I think again, back to you in the district, it's a team concept. We're not going to come in here and tell you what the goal should be or shouldn't be. We want success for the district and the community, and what does that look like? And you will have to help us define that.
Kids deserve it.
Yeah, they do.
Honestly.
Here's my position. I'm a little different than the lawyer. There's something called ethical. There's something called, now we've been in this whole thing called minority participation since the 70s. And it hasn't been too successful in some cases, particularly with project managers as well as construction companies, as well as the unions. So let's don't kid ourselves. We're far from where we ought to be. So what I'm concerned about, I'm not concerned about whether or not we have a program. I'm concerned about you as project managers, or construction managers, that you say what we come up with, that the Hickman School District expecting you contracts to do this, whether we have a program or not, they're expecting you to do that. And if they want the job, then we can go into court at the end, but if they want the job, they ought to be saying, okay, I'm willing to go with the 18% that the city's saying, or 15% for minorities and 5% for women. So I don't want to deal with whether we have one or not. I just want to say we want minority participation on the project. And we're asking you, if you're the one that we select, we're asking you, we're telling you to hold feet to the fire of those who bid on these various projects. That's the way I've come at it. And I hope the other 6 members of the board and the superintendent and Mr. Weaver will support that. That's where I'm coming from. So whether we have it or not, it's a new day in America. And if those folks who want to do business with public dollars don't come up and say, we're willing to do this, then we don't want to deal with it. And I think we have a right to say that. And if in the end result, we have an attorney here, the end result say, well, we're going to go to court. But I don't think we need to do that. This isn't a new thing. It came out in the 70s, so this is that's almost 50 years ago. So it's nothing new. And so these are public dollars, and we ought to be able to say in public dollars, here's what we want. Another thing, there's a history of construction managers and construction companies. Where there is a public project that represents people of color. I don't like the word minority. I'm using it because that's part of the language. So let's use minorities. On non-minority, on projects that don't deal with minorities, they don't have minorities on the project. So I'm going to be asking you, what about Blue Springs? Was there any minority participation? Now, whatever project you've done, did you have minority participation on those particular projects? Because if you as project managers, construction managers, do that and say that on whatever the project it is, then it's across the board. Then I haven't looked at this, but I'm saying to you that if that's your ethical consciousness, then you'll go wherever you are. And that's one of my really complaints against the construction industry out there, is that whether it's Jay Dunn, whether it's Clarkson out there on the bridges, whatever the case might be, if it's not a public project, they don't do the same thing in a private project. And so that's not fair to people of color who are struggling to get into these various fields. Now, I've laid it out there. And the last question I ask, how do you distinguish yourself? Although we only had a couple of bids, but there are a lot of folks doing what you here to do. A lot of folks out there. How do you distinguish yourself above and beyond your competitors?
Just in general, when you say distinguish, how do we distinguish ourselves as a company?
As a company.
Yeah, I mean.
Alvin, I'll speak to something you said early on. You have issues when people only do this on the jobs that need it, or they have the goals, and then they don't do it in the rest of their work. Kansas City is full of well-qualified MBE, WBE firms. You don't have to force it. If you're just constantly involved with those contractors, you keep them involved in your work, you don't have to force it. They're just used to bidding with you. So that list we handed out, that's just the portion of our list is MBE, WBEs. So those people are involved in every job we ever go after. But it's always, we go out to the market, let everybody bid it, everybody has a fair shot at it, and Kansas City is full of well-qualified MBE and WBE firms, so, if you just keep them engaged, they'll get our work and they'll be working with us, and so we do that with every project we go after.
You see, what I'm concerned about the general contractor in terms of their policy in reference to that you will be managing. That's what I'm concerned about that. What's their philosophy? What's their track record? And I know just enough about this to make me feel I'm an expert, which nobody else really except me. But for your information, I used to certify MBs WBA for the city of Kansas, Missouri. And I always had problems with contractors who say we can't make our good faith effort, we can't do that, but yet you have them out there. And you probably have less today than you had in the day because there was something happened, I can talk about that later on, to those minority contractors that the contractors did to them. Let me just say that they allowed them to extend themselves beyond their binding capacity and had to belly up. And you know what I'm talking about.
So, I do have a question.
I'd like to.
Oh, you answered?
You were getting ready to say something.
Well, there's the rest of the answer.
Yeah, he's gonna get the rest of it all.
What you said there was, you're concerned about the general contractor, okay? So in our approach, there would be no general contractor. We would be contracting directly with those trade partners. There will be nobody in between us, so you can look us in the eye, and make that statement, and there's nobody else to point the finger at. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, I want to just kind of touch back on ensuring that you adhere to the budget that's set and guaranteeing our projects are completed on time. Can you speak to that?
Well, I think that's best spoken to by our history, okay, and probably by our clients. But in our time, we've never not turned a school over on time or had kids not be able to go to school, okay? And others can't say that, and we're very proud of that. We feel like that is probably the hallmark thing you have to do is get your kids to school because mom's bringing that child to school.
Absolutely.
Right? Whether it's done or not, they're coming. So get ready and hold to that. From a budget standpoint, again, Mike is very good at this, and I stay very, very, very engaged in the pre-construction process because I have some gray hair, and I've made the mistakes that I talked about before. So, we've done very large projects in our company's history. We did the Juvenile Justice Center down at KCK. We were minus $500,000 under budget on a $26 million project. Okay, so very complex, hard, out of the ground project. That's 2%. We would say to you that we're going to be plus or minus 2% on our budgets, and we're always going to try to err to being 2% under. But if you're too conservative, then we start to take the pencil out of Justin's hands, and you don't get the scope of work that you really need or the quality you need because now we're buying lesser materials or whatever. So we've got to be aggressive and frugal at the same time with your dollars and work with him. And he's got to trust us if we say it's too much money or we can afford more, So I feel like we're really good at it, but it's our history, and we've only got success there, so I could give you a list of good folks to call.
Yeah, that's a big tool of that is doing value engineering throughout design, not backtracking into a budget after you put it out. So working with Justin and his team to make sure things are spec'd in a cost-effective manner, drawn in a cost-effective and constructible manner. That same project you just mentioned is about to finish, a month or a month and a half early also. Right. So you asked about schedule. We're hitting our schedules too. So we have a proven track record on both sides.
Absolutely.
So, in respect of time, I want to ask the question we all need to ask, which is, let's talk about fee structure, what that looks like, and please explain that to the board and to myself, and how you guys come about with your fee structure.
Yep.
Do you do guaranteed maximum pricing? Whatever method you guys use, the board needs to understand what that is prior to proceed.
So we're very flexible, but in this arena, normally it's a guaranteed maximum price. I need to make sure I give you the envelope before I leave. Okay. The way the proposal was requested, we've given you several numbers. We've given you a pre-construction cost. So this early phase where Mike and myself and others are doing investigations on your project. We've given you a price for that, and we've stated that in a dollar value. We've also stated it in a way that if the pre-construction, it's really a time-related thing, so we didn't know exactly how many months. I think I figured 5 months.
Yeah, 4
or 5 months.
Yeah.
But you can break that down and I gave you a per month cost as well.
Okay.
I gave you a percentage fee, not a whole dollar number, so you should be able to weigh that against others, and that would go up or down based upon the total construction value.
Right.
I gave you a general conditions number. So general conditions is the cost it takes for us to put, Greg and Brandon and provide the dumpsters for the project and cleanup and administration and billings and that sort of thing. So I gave you a number for that as well. I expressed that as a whole number as well as a per month cost if we were off on our schedule. I assumed a 9-month schedule overall, 3 summers, or 9 months throughout the course of the job, and that's all flexible. But because it was so much work going into place at one time, we've got 2 teams involved, and that may not be the right assumption right now. So I would encourage the group to lock down pre-construction, to lock down the fee percentage, okay, that people are giving you tonight, and then evaluate the general conditions and try to right-size those for the project as the scope gets defined. But you have a good basis of that, and we would negotiate that to a place where you're comfortable.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Susan, did you? Thank you. Okay. One thing, and I want to thank y'all too. I forgot to say that too for coming out today also. One thing we had a problem with, as we all did when we was coming on, is accountability. And that's something that I don't think we did a lot of. Accountability means just not with managers and construction workers, but also with us. I don't want, even if you guys, and if I don't see you guys again, but hopefully, if we have money for this toy, that's what we need to have. John might come in and say, I want a bigger toy than the toy that you have today. Stick to that. Stick to that, because in the long run, people don't see sometimes we look short term. Sometimes you gotta look long term, down the road of what you be able to affect, or how you would affect someone. So if you don't hear anything from Vice President Ray, hold everybody accountable. Everybody to the ears, even Justin. Because Justin had heard this before from me. So, accountability.
We'll push back.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thanks for the permission. That's what we need.
I don't think I have any questions. I think you kind of covered my concerns. I'm more leaning towards, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, first, I want to thank you guys again for coming. This was a wonderful presentation, and I'm sure you'll hear from us soon.
We're excited. Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
we really appreciate the opportunity.
Yep, and has been so for quite a while. And also Joel was a subcontractor in the last bond, and then when we dismissed our construction manager at the time, Universal came and helped us finish that project. So we're very thankful for that and that relationship. So I'll let Joel introduce his team, and then we'll make sure we're got till 8:01.
Okay.
8:02. So
Okay.
here you go.
All right.
And guys, we are recording this, so if you'll either use the handheld mic, or if you're sitting, you can use that mic. That way we can hear it through the recording. All right.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, we'll get started. We're excited to be here tonight. You guys have some exciting projects, and we would love to help with those. I know there's a long process, but no one deserves to have a good project more than the Hickman Mills School District. And we wanted to present tonight. We're very excited to be here, and we want to be your partners. So we'll get started. Just to kind of give you a heads up of where we're going tonight, we'll give you kind of a brief overview of who we are as a company. We're going to introduce the team members. These are going to be the people that would be working on your team. It's not our marketing staff, anything like that. These are the people that are going to have boots on the ground and actually working on your projects. And then you guys identified 10 questions just going through that you wanted us to present on tonight.
and we're going to go through those questions. If you guys want us to elaborate on any of those, please let us know. We will. It's okay if you want to interrupt us. We'll be more than happy to answer those, but we did leave some time at the end for Q&A also in case something pops up or you think of something after we talk about it. And then we'll talk about our fees too. We have an envelope over there to give to you guys, but we wanted to explain those a little bit since you'll be opening those later tonight. And then again, we'll recap why we feel like we're the best fit for the Hickman Mills School District. So we'll get going. We know Hickman Mills. I'm going to let these guys introduce themselves here in a couple minutes, and you'll see just how many ties we have to the Hickman Mills School District. And as Dan mentioned, we were honored to take over the last project. We know that it wasn't an easy task. There was a lot of conflict between the subcontractors, management, the architects, but when we were hired, we really rallied the troops to get this project done. And we're sitting in the room that we finished for you guys right before your guys' board meeting. So we're a diversified company. So not only is Universal Construction a certified Kansas City, Missouri women-owned business, but we've partnered with LM2 Construction and Contracting, Latasha McCall, who's going to introduce herself here. And not only is she going to be part of our team, but really bringing some great staff members that are going to be working on your project. And she's also a certified women-owned company and minority-owned company in the city of Kansas City, Missouri. We care about education, so our CEO, Cynthia Smith, was a former teacher before she became our CEO, and she instills in us how important these projects are that we're building for kids every single day and creating a good learning environment for them. But Marquise will talk about a little bit later when you meet him, just how important it is, not only when we turn over the project at the end of the day and how important that is, but how we like to get kids involved during construction because we use that as a learning environment. Proven track record. So this isn't our first rodeo. We were actually established in 1931, but in the early 90s is when we had a transition to construction management. Our current president helped write the Missouri state law for construction management in 1993, and we've been a proponent of that ever since. A few years later, we transitioned during that time from primarily a general contractor to a construction manager and have been focusing on K through 12 projects ever since. And then lastly, at Universal Construction, our goal is to build a better community, and we feel that starts with schools. So with that being said, we're going to jump right into our team. If I haven't met you yet, my name's Joel Smith, so I would be the project executive for the project. So I would be working hand in hand with Dan, you guys as a leadership team, directors, just making sure that these next 8 months before your bond vote go as you want it to go. Really helping pick out the projects, advising you guys on the projects, where estimates would come in, what we need to do now, what could potentially be deferred to your next bond. And just make sure that we're advising you guys appropriately on what makes sense to spend money now versus, hey, this could potentially wait 4 years. Because we know your guys' needs outweigh what you're planning to do for your bond, but that would be one of my primary goals. A little bit about myself. I've been with Universal for right at 15 years now. I grew up as a superintendent, so more hands-on than most project executives. But that's what gets me excited about construction, getting to see stuff going up. And then a little bit about my involvement. As Dan mentioned, I've been an all-in mentor at Ingalls this year. So every week I get together with Miss Bird's class in the first grade, have breakfast with the kids, and then I stay after to help them with their morning work and just kind of help her out and bond with those kids. Prior to that, I volunteered at Johnson for the previous 2 years. And then one last thing, I was honored to be a part of the Citizens Strategic Planning Committee earlier this year to help you guys with your 5-year strategic plan for the entire school district from 2019 through 2024. So with that, I will turn it over to Marquise.
Good evening, I'm Marquise Canyon. I will be your project team leader. What that means for you is I will provide the overall leadership and guide all of the project project team that are working on the various projects that Hickman School District has. A little bit about myself, I'm a retired Marine. And one of the things that I really enjoyed was I was stationed in Kansas City twice, and both times stationed here, I got to volunteer at Ruskin High School with the Marine Corps JROTC. And so this project, it's a little bit like home for me, and I'm happy about that. I've been a project manager for about 23 years, with 10 and a half of those years solely on construction. That's it. That's me.
I'm Latasha McCall, owner and president and founder of LM2 Construction. I am excited here today that Universal asked me to be a part of their team. It is probably very unusual for a big GC to partner with a small GC, especially to bring them on for a role that they do. Typically, minority and women-owned businesses, we get trade. We don't get to be on the construction management side. So I want to thank Joel and Archie and their team for believing in LM2 and supporting us on this job here. We're going to do some of the pre-construction estimating. So our estimator will be kind of doing that. We also, myself, I'm going to oversee all the bid packages, and as well as kind of do the MBE, WBE outreach to make sure that minority and women-owned businesses that want to be a part of this project, as well as getting out in the community and getting local people on the on this project as well. I am a Hickman Mills alumni. I'm very much a part of the Ruskin School District with the Caring for Kids. So I do a lot over there with Dr. Allen. And my passion, of course, is kids. I'm very, very much involved in Rachel's House, which is an organization that supports pregnant teens.
Good evening. My name is DeAndre Guidry. I'll be a project manager for you guys. Some things I'll be doing is making sure materials here on time, making sure we're updating our cost, working with our superintendents, making sure we're staying up on our schedule and everything. I'm also a Hickman Mills alumni. Went to elementary school in Hickman Mills School District, went to middle school here, and I graduated from Hickman Mills in 2007, which I went to Missouri Western State, where I got my construction engineering degree, and brought me here to the university.
Hi everybody, my name is Derek Johnson. I'll be the superintendent on your project here. What that means for you, basically, I'm just overseeing the day-to-day construction operations, the safety, the quality control, running the schedule, working with Marquise and DeAndre. A little bit about myself. I graduated from Missouri State University in 2006. I've been in construction management since then. The last 6 years with Universal, and in those 6 years, I have completed a dozen school projects. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Damone Officer. I will serve as your foreman. I'm also from this district. Went to Urban Junior High. I also graduated from Hickman. 2005, we was Cougars. That was the prize. So for me, I'm kind of ecstatic to be up here. If we get the opportunity to get this bid, this is pride for me. We'll get into my duties later.
And I'm Archie Smith, Executive Vice President for Universal Construction. I guess I'm just honored to be here with the rest of the team. My role for the project, we've assembled a very experienced team that has done dozens of projects just like the ones you're about ready to embark. But really my role is really more of a mentor. If there is something unusual that comes up on your project that these guys haven't seen, I've actually worked on 11 other bond issues that are over $20 million each. So I'm very comfortable with the things that are likely to come up in your project. So I'm here to support these guys and to help make sure that we are making the proper recommendations to Hickman School District so that you're making the right decisions for your district, your staff, and the patrons of the school district.
Thanks, Archie. So next, we're going to just jump right into your questions. One thing I did want to mention, so we have DeAndre and Derek here tonight, one project manager, one superintendent, kind of depending on how the projects go. Obviously, you're probably going to have more than one going on at a certain time, so we would have additional project managers, additional superintendents as needed, but we just didn't want to bring a whole bunch of people here tonight, so we brought a few of them. But we're going to jump right into your questions that you guys asked. The first is just explaining our knowledge of the Hickman Middle School District and the potential projects that you guys have coming up. So we wanted to start with how do we know the Hickman Middle School District, and some of these might be repeated, but as we mentioned, we took over the project last time, got this project back on track and got it completed. But some of you might not know, a little bit earlier this spring, we actually helped out also at Ruskin High School, and unfortunately a car drove in to the storefront there. So we helped you guys out with that insurance claim and took care of that for you. As we mentioned, Latasha and I have been volunteering for years at a few of your schools, and even before we got going, Marquise was volunteering with your junior ROTC at Ruskin. And then also, so you probably were keeping track, but that's 3 Hickman Mills graduates on our team. Nobody's going to be more dedicated to your guys' project than us. And then lastly, just long-standing personal relationship. I've met many of you guys in the room many times. This project's personal to us. We love doing schools, but again, no one is more deserving than a great project than the Hickman Middle School District. This is personal to us, and we're going to make it happen for you. So next, we just wanted to kind of highlight what we know, what we've understood that's probably been presented to you guys multiple times, and what you guys are looking at. Maybe starting with some of the things that are more behind the scenes, but just as important. Obviously, in your last bond, your 2016 bond, you guys did a lot of HVAC upgrades. We're understanding that there might be some additional units and things like that might need to be upgraded this time around. Roof upgrades, asphalt and sidewalk replacement and repair. One thing that we would be looking for there is you want to make sure to catch those things before they're at the end of the life, or it can be very expensive before you're fixing the substructure or things like that. So that's one of the things that we would be helping you out with. And then very importantly, and one thing with us working on a bunch of schools that we've been doing a lot lately is these secured entries. We want to make sure the kids are safe when they enter these buildings. And we want to make sure that if somebody's coming in that shouldn't be there, that the right measures are taken to get into that building, that the teachers know how to operate that your staff knows how to operate that. It's something we're very used to, and we've been putting a lot of those in recent years. The next, some of the other things that we understand you guys are looking at are some theater upgrades. The first 4 projects that I started my career on were all theater upgrades. It's something that can be really fun, but can be confusing if you're not knowing what you're looking at, because there's a lot of stuff. You can see that picture on the left side there with all those battens and everything hung. Those can be very confusing with mechanical units and things like that going through there, but it's very exciting. We're actually building an addition right now for the Liberty School District. That's a performing arts addition. And then lastly, we understand that you guys might be looking at doing something to your district stadium at Ruskin. That's another thing we're very familiar with. Marquise and I actually just finished a project for the Kearney School District, upgrading their stadium seating and their press box. One thing that was really cool about that project, not only did we add about an extra 1,000 seats, but right at 30 of those were for ADA accessibility, which was very important to that district, to make sure if there was somebody that was handicapped or in a wheelchair, that they got a great seat at the stadium also. So your next question, we lumped about 4 of the questions, the next 4, into our approach. And so we were going to discuss how we manage multiple projects.
So, as Joel mentioned earlier, we do understand that the needs that Hickman School District have significantly outweigh the funds that are going to be available for this bond issue. And so one of the first things that we would be helping you with is making sure that we're looking at all of the needs that you have, make sure we've got a good understanding of what you feel those priorities are, trying to update the cost, provide cost options, some solution ideas to what those problems are, and then helping you come up with the right list of projects before you go out to out for your bond to the community, and make sure you got the right projects at this particular time for the school district. And once we've helped you identify what you feel like are the best projects and the best use of money for the bond, we'll want to talk to you about bid strategies for the work that we put together. There's a lot of things that go into that. One would be the timing of the work that we bid. How does that work with your operations? How does that work with lead times for materials that we'll need for the project? How can we package projects? If we end up having multiple HVAC unit projects, do we want to bid those together just to get some economy of scale? We also want to make sure we're balancing that out so that we're not lumping too much work together, so that we're able to, again, get MBE, WBE firms involved, and we're not creating work that's too big to keep our participation up. So really, we feel like on bid strategies, we want to present you with options. We want to let you know what we feel like the pros and the cons of some of the bid strategies may be. So again, we can help you make the right choices for your school district. Once we've identified how we're packaging the projects, we'll refine our management structure. We've provided fees for you that Joel will hand out later and discuss. But until we really determine what the projects are, when the projects are going to take place, how we're going to group them, we don't know exactly how much staff's going to be needed at any given time. But one thing that we will do, we will always have senior leadership on all of your projects. So Joel and Marquise will both be overseeing every single project that we have going on. And when we have specific projects going on, we will have project dedicated staff on each and every project. DeAndre and Derek are examples of project specific staff that we will have on each and every project, so that somebody on our team is always down, I guess, in the nitty gritty, or getting down to the nuts and bolts of everything to know exactly what's going on in every aspect of your project. And then the last thing I want to mention, one of the things that we see at most of the districts that we work for, especially when we have multiple projects, is everyone accounts for their projects a little bit differently, but that's very important to every district we work for. So we'll want to sit down with your accounting folks to make sure we understand how you're accounting for your projects, so that we can build that structure into our construction projects, so that we're actually generating reports that work well with your accounting, so that you can manage or match up the numbers from the time you start the project all the way through to completion, so that accounting on the district side will always know exactly where you're at with the bond funds.
Okay, I think this is one of the most important slides, because this is where we start with the bid packages. This is where we start on who exactly is going to get to participate. We're going to start early, and what I mean by starting early is that we're going to be involved on, first of all, helping this bond get passed. So we're going to energize people. We want to make sure this bond gets passed, so we're going to work with you. How do we generate the bid excitement? Is we're going to get this out to as many minority, women-owned, community, churches, leaders in the community, to let them know that we want them to bid, give them an opportunity to bid on this project. We want to do a cast-wide. I'm going to meet with these MBEs, WBE small firms individually. A lot of them come as a general contractor myself and says the scope is too big. One of the things that I'm going to do is that I'm going to sit and kind of, if you got a small electrical contractor and maybe a small minority, I want to partner them together to stress the importance of helping another small or contractor meet their goals. So many times, even though there isn't any goals yet, part of my job is to ensure whether their goals or not, is that we get as many minority and women-owned contractors the opportunity to bid and guide them in the bid process. And then the follow-up is that meeting with you guys monthly and letting you know where we are, how many we have, how many local people we have communicating, how many minorities, how many women, and then what are we doing to energize this to kind of get that out, that Hickman meals, you know, how we enforce that. So that is part of my role. So this is a real important slide because this dictates on who's going to be on the job.
So your next question was, what do we do to qualify contractors before they can bid?
Okay, excuse me. So Archie and Latasha talked about getting out and into the community. So the very first thing in pre-construction, MBE, WBE, LBE, outreach, I like to do things a little bit different. And one of those things where we're outreaching there, we need the contractors to understand how to bid the job. We need them to understand what the scopes of work are to ensure that they're not going to miss anything. We like to call that a pre-bid meeting. If there was a term to put on it. After that, we send out a pre-qualification checklist with the bid that every contractor needs to turn in. The purpose of that is to ensure that you're actually getting qualified and financially stable contractors. We want everybody to bid the job that's qualified and stable to be able to do your work. Bid goes, and then we conduct post-bid interviews. So what does that mean for you? We're going to go through their scope. We're going to go through their pre-qualifications. We're going to go through their references. We're going to make sure that this contractor is who he or she says they are. And then we get them out there, and we're going to find the best bid evaluation, best contractor for this thing. And we're going to bring those recommendations to you for qualified contractors who are financially stable, who will meet your schedule. And so that's important. They also have to be able to have a track record of meeting schedule deadlines.
So the next question in this area you guys asked is, what do we do to minimize change orders? And that's very important. We know the last project, there was issues with schedule not being done on time, and there was a lot of change orders on the project and a lot of unforeseens. So this is something very important, but it starts way before the project gets started for us. Where we like to start is even before the drawings are done, our superintendents, our project managers, Marquise and myself, we're sitting down behind the scenes and we're reviewing the drawings. We're looking at constructability reviews. Can this be built? What might not be clear to the contractors? What do we need to clear up? So we're doing that way before it goes out to bid. And why that's an advantage if you guys select our firm is because we do almost all K through 12 facilities. We don't do a bunch of different things and schools. Schools are our main focus. It's over 90% of what we do. I think that number just got updated here recently to over 95% of what we do in the last 10 years is K through 12 facilities. So we know what we're going to look for and make sure things work. So we can catch a lot of those things early. Another thing that we think is very important is to be involved in the design meetings. This is meetings that Justin will be leading with you guys, but what our goal is to be taking notes, just to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. He's going to have enough on his plate to make sure that everything you guys are asking for gets into the drawings, but we're going to take that list and just make sure when we're doing our constructability reviews, if you guys are asking for something, we're just double checking it to make sure it gets in, because we don't want to have pricing after bid day. The best pricing you're going to get is on bid day. Another thing we do is detailed bid packages. We don't take the specifications and just identify each individual scope saying you guys do this bid scope, you do this bid scope. We actually go through the drawings also and have a very detailed bid package for the contractors to bid on. And why that's important to you guys as a district, if a contractor knows that we've taken the time, we're identifying exactly what we want them to bid, there's no gray area for them to bid. If there's a gray area for the contractors, their numbers are going to go up. They're going to make sure that they're covering something that they might not be seeing. Our subcontractors know that when they're looking at our bid packages, it's very detailed, so they know exactly what they're bidding. Fourth, one of the other things we feel is really important is developing good site staging and phasing plans. And that's very early on where we're talking with Dan, with you guys, and even the principals, just making sure we understand how does your building operate. The construction on day one might be different from month 3 versus month 6 when the project's completed. And we want to make sure the contractors know that this is going to change. This is where the fences are. This is where the buses come in. We're going to disrupt this school as least as possible and stay out of their way so they can focus on teaching the kids while we're building the project. That communication to the contractors is important so they know this is how I'm going to build the project, so they're not coming back halfway through trying to charge additional monies. And then lastly, we instill in all of our employees, which trickles down to our subcontractors, a no-cost solution culture. And what that means is there's going to be issues that come up on the project, but one of the things that helps us keep on schedule is if we encourage our employees and the subcontractors to come up with no-cost solutions. Usually if we come up with a no-cost solution and present it to Justin or his team, more than likely it will be passed, which means we'll be able to keep going on the project, which will keep us on schedule. If we're coming issue after issue and just saying, here, please help us out, we need a fix for this, it's slowing down the project and the contractors are pricing it up, which means we have to stop the physical work on the job site. So next you guys asked us about what is our approach to safety.
One of my main jobs as a superintendent is to pay attention to safety on the job site. Not only the safety of our workers, but also the safety of the students, the staff, the general public around us. So as long as we can keep that clean barrier around us, that it should be good for everybody. The way we go about that, it's a five-step process. The first thing we'll do is once we get the plans from Hollis and Miller, I'll go through them, evaluate what we think the hazards and risks could be, discuss them with the district, and try to come up with what we feel is a safety plan that satisfies everybody. Once we have that plan developed, we'll put it out to bid, and the contractors bid the work, so they know what the expectations are. If there's anything required, they can include those numbers there, so there's nothing coming later. Once we have that in place, once contractors are on board, we'll review it with the staff, and whether it's this building or where we're working at, whoever you guys would like to be involved, whether it's principals or staff or board members, just so everybody knows what our safety plan is. And then once we get started, we'll implement that safety plan. And as the construction goes on, that's an ever-changing plan that as goes along with progress, and that's how we keep our job site safe. One of the things that helps me do that every day is having a nice clean job site, and that's something Damone can talk about.
Thank you. Now we get to talk about my responsibilities, which is mainly cleanliness and safety on the job site. Try to keep it clutter-free, hazard-free, so everyone can operate and business can continue as usual. That's pretty much, I'll try to keep it short and sweet.
One of the other questions was, how do we stay on budget? We believe that starting on budget is the key to, one of the keys to staying on budget. We can't start over a budget and expect to get in the budget as the project progresses. Doing that, Joel mentioned constructability reviews. We're extremely accurate in our estimates. Over the last 10 years, our bids have come in 0.92% and just under 1% below where our estimate is. And so right there, looking at it, reviewing the documents, ensuring that we're seeing what's there. One of the ways that we do that on our estimates and with the constructability reviews, we sometimes like to ask the architects what was hard to draw. Because if it was hard for them to draw it, chances are the contractor is going to have a hard time understanding exactly what they need. And so we'll work that out with the architects. We also mentioned no-cost solution culture for change orders. So part of my job is empowering our project managers and having them push back on the contractors. We don't like contractors to just say, hey, I have this problem, and they set this book down. Okay, you have this problem, now tell me how to fix it. By the way, tell me how to fix it, that's not going to cost me any money. that doesn't happen all the time, but that's what we do. We absolutely push back so that we can get no cost, and then the next best thing, the next best thing is low cost. We also, during construction, like to do district walkthroughs. That'll be another one of my responsibilities. I like to get out, we walk, because sometimes when you're looking at what's on the drawings, it will look different than how you interpret it when it's actually built. So we'd like to get out periodically and walk the district, walk the principal, walk, Dan, and so that everyone can see what's happening. So if there's a problem, we can catch it then, and we can adjust then, instead of waiting until the end of the project. And finally, I mentioned earlier, schedules. One of the biggest things that helps a district stay on, a contractor stay on budget, and that helps us keep the budget where it needs to be, is meeting the deadlines. When you go over the schedule, chances are it costs more dollars. So qualified contractors, we're going to be looking at that in terms of are they meeting their scheduled deadlines?
Why CMR? I think the first thing is that when you bring a CMR, it takes the risk off the school district. I think we come in early, where so many times you bring somebody in later. We come in early with the architect, so that way we do pre-construction, and we kind of work with them so they know that in your budget this is not going to work, or is it going to work, or something. So I think bringing us in early and having us work with the architect early on, and then taking the risk off the district. And so many times, is I think your last project you were CM an agency, and just a little example of how that went is that basically when you get ready to do HVAC, they maybe they missed a scope of work. And when they miss a scope of work, they already have that. So then you got to go back to the district, and now the district has a change order, and now it's costing you more money. When you go at CM at risk, you bring us on early. We're going to review all those bid packages. We're going to sit down with the subcontractor. We're going to make sure they understand the scope of work. We're going to make sure everything is in there. So if they do miss a scope of work, or they do miss something, it comes back on us.
In addition to having a single source of responsibility, one thing that you may recall from going through a project at CM, or doing CM at risk versus CM agency, is you will have a lot less paperwork. That's just less labor hours for the school district. Instead of managing 30 contracts per project, you'll be managing one contract per project, and we will be handling the rest of the paperwork. Each month that goes by, instead of processing 30 pay applications per project and having to cut checks for all those, you will process one pay application, and we will cut the checks for all of the contractors. If you have warranty callbacks, if there's an issue, I mean, we don't expect issues on the project, but if you do, you're calling us. You don't have to find out who was the guy that installed the flooring, who was the guy that installed the casework. You call Universal, we'll be out to address the issue. Another thing that I think hiring a CM at risk does, and Latasha talked about it, I think it just reinforces teamwork. And I think we can all agree when we're working as a team, things go smoother. We're brought on board early. We've got skin in the game because we're at risk. And because of that, I think CM at risk will help you deliver a more successful project.
And then lastly, as really both of them mentioned, I mean, it takes the risk off of you guys. If we tell you guys the project's going to cost X amount and it goes over that, we're paying that. We're not asking you guys for that. But on the flip side, if we say it's going to cost this much and it ends up coming in a little bit better than what we thought, you guys get to recognize that savings. So that puts all the risk on us and takes it off of you guys as a district. So the next question you guys asked about was for us to talk a little bit about our lead experience. So with that, I'll turn it over to our leader.
Okay, so at Universal, we have a 100% track record of getting our LEED certification. I like to mention, if we don't go after LEED, we still use LEED implement lead things on our projects, like waste management, making sure we're using recycled materials, making sure we're using air quality control on our projects, and making sure we're using low-emitting materials also. Last summer, we just completed 2 projects. I was a part of those. We got lead silver at Walden Middle and Hopewell. We're currently working on 3 different projects. We're forecasting to get lead silver on those also. I'm also part of those, working with Hollis Miller and things of that sort. So that's a little bit about lead.
Right, now I'll explain just a little bit on the fee. So that's kind of all the questions that you guys asked. You guys might have some additional, but what we have, and Archie's probably grabbing it right now, so you guys asked for a sealed envelope with our fee. So I thought I'd just explain a little bit of that, of what's in there, and that way, hopefully that makes more sense when you guys open that here in a little bit. So first, one of the things that we wanted to explain to you guys is in there that you'll see is a lump sum number for pre-construction bond assistance. And that's basically us working with you guys for the next 8 months, helping you prepare for and pass your bond. So that's a lump sum number, no matter how many meetings we're going to, board meetings, outreach meetings in the community. Latasha and I will be working together to work with you guys to provide assistance to you guys for that. And that includes estimates and things like that also. I just want to make sure you understood that. The second thing you'll see on there is our fee percentage. We do know kind of the type of projects you guys are looking at, but we don't know how much and how many are going to be. But we know an approximate range of 25 to 35 million is what you guys are looking. So what we gave was a fee percentage of whatever that number ends up being of the cost of work. So I wanted to clear that up for you guys. So whatever that ends up being, whether there's 10 projects, whether there's 2 projects, obviously there won't be 2 projects, but that fee percentage will stay the same throughout the entire bond. We felt that that would be the best for the district. We got very aggressive with our number because we feel that that's going to help the Hickman Mills School District out. And then last, we were asked if there would be any post-construction costs, so warranty callbacks or closeout, anything like that. So we don't have a cost listed because that would be included in our fee percentage. So there's no additional cost for us in that. So what you'll see is there's a paper that outlines those. There's also the matrix that we were asked for in the RFQ that kind of has the different columns and where we put everything, where we feel everything should fall. And then you guys also asked for a sample contract. So that's all in that envelope. So lastly, we just wanted to recap again why we feel like we're the right partner to move forward with your guys' exciting bond projects. Again, we mentioned it earlier and talked throughout. We know Hickman Mills. We were honored to be a part and help get these projects done 4 years ago. There's a lot that's led up to this moment right here, and we know that we're the right fit. We want to be a part of this district and continuing to help you guys in hitting your goals as a district.
The next is diversify MBE, WBE businesses as a woman-owned and a minority-owned business. As a contractor, I understand how hard it is for us to get opportunities. So on jobs like this, when I get an opportunity, I want to educate and get as many people on this job as minority and women-owned businesses, because we always talk about there's not enough. You know, it starts with us. We got to create them. We got to help them, and do what we can to keep them going. If not, so many people say there's not enough, but it kind of starts with us. So I'm real happy that Universal brought me onto their team, and we're just going to keep this going.
We care about education. As Joel mentioned, since the mid-90s, nearly 95% of what we do is just education. One of the things that I did in Kearney, on the Kearney project, that I would love to do here is getting the students involved. We believe that using construction as an educational tool will help the students. So one of the things that we did there is we brought the engineering class out. We went through structural details. We went through the plans. We went through let them speak with the different tradespeople and ask questions. And then post-construction, I went into the classroom and elaborated on whatever materials they were covering at that time. And then we helped them for their capstone turn around, and we cast a wide net on our social media. We sent it out all to our contractor parties. They were trying to determine whether or not the construction industry needed something, whether that be gloves, boots, or how to improve a thing. So we got that out to help them find out if their plan was viable. I would love to be able to do that here and use construction as an educational tool for the Hickman School District.
Proven track record. We know that you've got an important decision to make as far as who's going to help lead you through this journey. And there's a lot of responsibility on your construction manager. And I think one of the things that's unique about Universal is just our track record. You heard Joel mention we've been in business since 1931. It's a fifth generation business. We're not going anywhere. Joel and I are both part of that fifth generation. And we're going to make sure this company keeps going strong for years and years to come. But it's just not about being, I guess, in business for a long time. As Marquise mentioned, I mean, we've been focused on schools. I mean, for the last 30 years, that's almost all we've done. We know what's going to happen on your project, probably before most do, just because we've been there, and the numbers back it up. You heard our staff talk about our estimating excellence, 0.92% under budget. Why is that important to Hickman Mills School District? It means when we tell you numbers, you can count on them. It also tells you that when we go through the design process and we get to bid day, we're not going to have to take a step back and start over because we're way over budget, or we're way under budget and we cut stuff out of your program that you really needed but you didn't think you could afford. So being on target is where we need to be, and our track record says that's where we're going to be on your project. You also heard our staff talk about being on schedule. It's a key indicator of how your project goes financially, but we also know that from a planning standpoint, you need to know when can I move into the various spaces. You need to know that your staff is going to have time to move in and get familiar with the space, because we can't drop the space on you a day before school starts and expect everybody to be ready to go. We understand what it takes to get into a classroom and get it set up, but we're going to make sure we build that into the schedule. We didn't talk about the specific numbers, but over that same 10-year period that Marquise talked about, we've brought our projects in at 3.4% ahead of schedule across the board. And I'm certain we'll be able to do that for you on this project as well.
And then lastly, again, we care about this community. There's many ties to this community. There's many success stories on our team that graduated from the Hickman Mills School District and that are a part of our team and have been for a while. Damone talked earlier, so we brought Damone on as a laborer in the apprenticeship program when we started your guys' project as a demo contractor and as a cleanup contractor. He made it just a few months ago all the way through the apprenticeship program working for us. There's a great success story there, and we want to continue that with your guys' district. We want to look for, is there a kid that's looking to get into the laborers? Are they looking to get into the carpenters? Have they gone off and got their degree and come back looking at construction management? That's one of the things we do is get kids involved because we care about our community. I mentioned earlier about change orders, and I know Director Reagan, you've asked me many times in this room, how are we doing on change orders? What's coming up? That's my commitment to all of you guys. We're going to be watching that very close. Director Brooks, I know you mentioned, and even though I wasn't presenting, I was still listening, and you talked about years and years ago feeling like the Kansas City, Missouri, the city of Kansas City, Missouri, would certify contractors as a woman-owned company or a minority-owned company, but then they were just thrown to the wolves, and it was a sink or swim. That's my goal, to try and change that, even if it's one company. That's why I wanted to partner with Latasha. She's heading in the right direction, but there's a lot of things that we can offer as a company that's been around a long time, but there's also a lot of things we can learn from her. So we felt like it was the right partnership, the right project. We are all deeply invested in your community. We know you guys are heading in the right direction, and we want to be a part of that. So thank you for allowing us to be here tonight and present to you guys. We'd love to open it up for questions and answers.
First of all, I'd like to just take the opportunity to thank you guys for presenting today. I did want to circle back on behalf of the board. As you know, we have Vice President Reagan. I'm not sure if we met Director Watry, and Director Brooks is joining us here today as well. How long has this team that's assembled here before us worked together? How many projects have you guys worked on together?
That's quite a bit. So, I mean, maybe I'll talk about years, would that be acceptable? I mean, DeAndre has been with us for about 5 years now, that's been working on our projects. Derek's been working for us for 6 years now. Marquise has been working for us for a little over a year now. Latasha actually worked with us for a few years before she started her own company, so we're very familiar with her. And like I mentioned, Damone started in 2006. Sorry, I should be raising this up. And Damone's been working with us for right at 4 years now. Archie and myself have been working together. I've been with Universal for 14 years, and Archie's been for 23. So I think we would have to figure out how many times we've worked together. I know I've worked with everyone on this team, but hopefully that answers your question. I know that's not specific how many projects. If you want me to figure it out, I absolutely could, but okay.
I do have one more question.
Absolutely.
How can you guarantee a clear plan, path for construction to make sure that we are on time for each project, that the coordination between each trade is running on schedule?
Sure. I can keep going, or would anybody else?
I'll take it.
Okay.
So to answer your question, once we have the plans, the finished drawings, we're going to put together a very detailed schedule. In that schedule, there'll be milestones. You guys will have access to that. You can have it as detailed or undetailed as much as you'd like. Our schedules are usually fairly extensive. Helps coordination on my end. We have weekly meetings, superintendent meetings. We have project manager meetings. We have our meetings with the district, also Miller. So there's just a lot of checks and balances there that everybody knows where we're at. I feel like me being in the field, the superintendent, being there every day, working with these guys, chasing that schedule down. We have a few things we're ahead on, a few things we're behind on the everyday things, but as long as we stay on those milestone schedules, that the getting the top out on the steel or getting the roof on, or getting dried in, things like that, that we have a really good success rate of completing our projects on time. We're ahead. The last project I did was 14 or 15 months long, and I think we had over 5 weeks of unanticipated weather on top of what we'd already budgeted for, and I think we finished our project one day later than we said we would, even missing 5 weeks worth of weather. So it just takes a lot of coordination. I don't know if anybody wants to add on that.
I think one of the other unique things that I feel like we do is Marquise talked about empowering the contractors that work on our project. We recognize that we've got a lot of smart people in the room when we bring the other trades on board, and we really try to lead as a team and not as a dictatorship. So when we get bids from contractors, in addition to price, we ask the contractors if we're getting a price from a drywall contractor, how long will it take you to install your metal stud framing? How long will it take you to hang your sheetrock? How long will it take you to tape and finish the work? And that goes into the assessment of who's the best bid for the work as well. Because if contractor A is $500 more than contractor B, but contractor B can get it done a month quicker and he's willing to commit to it, then we will write those durations into the contract, and then Marquise and Derek will use their durations to push the schedule. And why we think that's important is, and I'm sure you've been in this situation, how do people perform best? Are they part of the plan? Did they have input on what the plan was, or were they told what they needed to do? So when that drywall contractor is out there and he's 50% into his duration and he's 30% done with his work, it's very easy for Derek and Marquise to go to that contractor and say, hey, you told me that you were going to have this done in 2 weeks, and it doesn't look like you're going to make it. And that's what you committed to us. And when they realize that was their plan, it's a very easy discussion with their office. Hey, we need more help, or we're going to need to work some overtime, but we're going to live up to our contracts. Plus, they're bound to it by our contract.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Excuse my standing, I picked up a 18-wheeler the other day while they fixed the flat in my, my back is kind of bad. But let me just say this and congratulate Dan Weekly, because I jumped on him and the other company bad. In fact, he thought I'd cursed him one time, and I started to leave it at and not explain, but I didn't curse him. I cursed the situation occurred. And it wasn't a bad word. We all use it publicly sometimes. But Joe, I want to thank you for coming in as Universal and really moving it, because one of my big things, along with Director Rigg, was the change orders. And that's what the curse was about. Every time we go, a change order, change order, change order. And I think when you came in and smoothed it out, let me suggest, congratulate you also for taking on Ms. McCall, who not only has worked for engineering firms, but also some of the larger minority-owned firms, and now her own firm. And I hope that she'll be a part of your team beyond Hickman Mills, because she certainly knows the field, and I know she's doing well in her own construction company. One other thing that, and I'm probably going to steal the attorney Carla's thunder here, but Ms. McCall certainly knows those minority and women-owned businesses out there. She knows those that do good work. She knows those are the fronts that have been certified, but fronts for someone else, and just because they meet the 51% threshold. I would hope that as this project, as well as other projects, that she's using it as minority participation, and even though we don't have we haven't had a disparity study to determine what our goals are, that we still put goals, and we expect those contractors, electrical or whatever they might be, to work with minority firms to make sure that we make our goals. And so I hear that. I know we're going to hold you to that, and I know that if Ms. McCall's on the job along with you, Joel, along with Dan, it'll get done. So maybe I'm stepping out before I should. I appreciate where you are, what you're doing, and what you've done for us in the past.
Thank you.
I'm Carla Johnson. I'm legal counsel for the district. And Mr. Brooks, you didn't tell my
No, I left that one for you. I left that one for you.
I actually have two questions. My first question is if you could speak to your experience, your success with utilizing minority and women-owned businesses when there are not goals set on projects.
Sure.
Question number one. And then question number two is if you could talk a little bit more about how you envision your role in the pre-construction phase as it relates to identifying the projects that will be done, and kind of what you would envision your role to be in the promoting and promoting the bond phase. I know you talked about it some, but if you could talk a little bit more about that.
Sure. I'll answer the first one just because we have updated numbers, and the second one I might turn over to Archie here to help answer kind of what we're going to help out on the bond. So we would be more than happy to break this out for you, but we just updated it last week. Over the last 2 years on projects, and I don't think any of the projects had specific goals, but as a combination of woman-owned, minority-owned, and local businesses, over the last 2 years our projects have come in just over 57% of those added together of where the project cost came in at the very end. So again, that's minority, woman-owned, and local businesses too, over the last 2 years on average. So hopefully that helps there. If you'd like a breakout of that, I could work on that. But that's something that we're very proud of. Again, us being a woman-owned business, That's something that is important to us, and that's why we track that even on projects that don't have goals. So.
Okay. And does that number include work that's done by your business?
Yes, it does. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I just also want to speak, before I started my own company, I worked for Universal Construction, where I learned so much. And when they decided to go after this, it wasn't any goals or anything. Universal never looks at it as goals or any color, race, or anything like that. They just look at it as being a great team. So when Joel asked me, I said, are you calling me? Did they do goals? And one of the things he said, there is no goals. You work for us. You're a great company. We just want to extend this out. We want to make you better. I know I've done a lot of work for the Kansas City, Missouri School District and their K through 12. So just by bringing me on, there is no goals. They're just, just want to help me grow my business, help me get more in K through 12 and make my company better. And just by me doing this, I hope that in this, I'm able to mentor another woman-owned or minority company, where I can say now I've got experience, this many experience in K through 12, where I can return that.
And I think your second question was how do we help Hickman Mills determine maybe what the best projects are, or what projects you ultimately are going to put on the bond ballot
right,
to
and
move forward.
And the reason I'm asking that, let me just explain why I'm asking the question. What I was hearing was, and I just want to make sure that just for you to clarify it, what I was hearing was when Hollis and Miller determines the projects, we'll do this. And so I want to see if the plan is more of a collective work together to determine what the projects are.
It is, and so as we understand, we know that there's a lot more needs than bond funds available. So I think that unless there are things that are on the list that the school district has just already decided, we know this is a need, but we know we can push this off for 4 years. Anything that you feel is an immediate need or something that you definitely would like to tackle if the funds are available, we're going to help you evaluate that before we start drawing. We're going to try to understand what the needs are, brainstorm some potential solutions for those needs with Hollis and Miller, because they don't have the time, nor do any of us really have the resources to be able to create designs for all of the needs that you have, price those up, and then determine what we're going to put on the bond. So at a very high level, we're going to assess what the needs are, talk about in concept what those solutions may look like, give you some order of magnitude numbers for it, and maybe give you some pros and cons as to why we think this group of projects could be a good fit or why they may not be. But at the end of the day, we view ourselves as a resource and someone that can help you with the logistics of projects, with the cost of the projects, the potential phasing of the projects, and then give you that information so that you can determine what is the right group of projects that you can afford under the funds that are available.
I'd like to ask, and I thought the attorney was going to ask this, that's why I gave her space, but she didn't do it, so I'm going to take it. That you track the minority participation, that you give us, that you be able to say that this is what we've accomplished in terms of this percentage of minority and women participation. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and that is one of my roles on the job. So every monthly, I'll track those minority, women-owned that we pick for the job, that's on the job. So every month you'll get that from me. So that is along with some estimating, but that is one of my roles. So I'm going to be held accountable to make sure that minority and women-owned are on this.
Okay, first of all, we want to thank you again for coming, and we're in our time, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.